Kishane Thompson is a big deal, not just because he is an Olympic silver medalist, but because he has proven that he can run times in the 100-meter dash that nobody else in the world can run, at least in this era. And for that reason, I have paid attention to every single race that he has run throughout the 2025 season. When I say all of them, I mean all of them, and I've even shared my thoughts on each of them. So for that reason, I decided that heading into the World Championships this year, where Kishane Thompson has to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, I'm just going to play it back. Everything that I have said about Kishane Thompson from that moment all the way up until now. I'm talking from the indoor season into the outdoor season, every single race. It's all here. Because as far as I can tell, the internet community is pretty split when it comes to Kishane Thompson. Some people see him as the odds-on favorite to win the gold. Others think that he's going to run times that, go into the 9.6s perhaps. And then you have those who don't believe he's going to do that. And I'm somewhere in the middle between all of those extremes. But at the end of the day, one thing is for certain. You're not going to win a gold medal in the 100-meter dash at this year's World Championships without going through him. So without dragging this video out to be even longer than it already is, let's get into it. The 60-meter dash is honestly not taken all that seriously in the sprinting world, especially when people run it outdoors. Unless, of course, Kishane Thompson is on the starting line, because he just ran his first race of the 2025 season. And yes, I have some thoughts. He was competing at the Central Hurdles, Relays, and Field Events meet in Jamaica, which thanks to J. Dublo Sports, I was able to watch live. Everything about that 60-meter dash race was unofficial, at least as far as the IAAF might be concerned, because the outdoor 60-meter dash, with wind factors, is not a real thing. The 60 only matters even a little bit when you run it indoors, where there's no wind. And Kishane Thompson ran 6.48 seconds. He did that into a negative 2.1 headwind. That's the only reason why I'm taking it seriously, because that time would qualify him as a world leader even if there was no wind, but there was. So now I had to start running some conversions to try to understand just how fast he might actually have gone. And since there are no conversion calculators for an outdoor 60-meter dash, I had to use one for the 100, and then cut that number in half to get some approximation. So we can assume that he probably would have ran at least 0.06 seconds faster in the 60-meter dash. Just trust me, I did the math. That would put him at 6.42 seconds to open his season. The only man who ran faster than that last year was the world indoor champion, Christian Coleman. Followed right behind him by Noah Lyles, who ran 6.43 seconds. And those two names actually matter, because historically speaking, they have been Kishane Thompson's biggest rivals as a pro. Of course, I can focus on the fact that they are both world champions. They've actually won 3 of the 5 world level medals in the 100 from 2019 all the way up until now. But beyond that, the entire world was watching in Paris when Noah Lyles snatched the crown as the world's fastest man, which is a title you get when you win Olympic gold in the 100-meter dash. That race was controversial, and yes, you probably already know why. Because he won that race by 5 thousandths of a second. And the man who was ahead for practically the entire race was Kishane Thompson. If all you care about is the clock, then Kishane Thompson had to be the favorite coming into the Olympics. His first 100 of 2024, he actually didn't even finish. And the next time we saw him was at the Jamaican Olympic Trials, where he ran a new world lead of 9.77 seconds, a time that nobody was able to match for the remainder of the season, even after the games. He ran one tune-up meet where he dominated, and then did what he does in both the prelims and the semifinals. Remember, he was ahead all the way to the line in that Olympic final. But 5 thousandths of a second entirely changed the narrative coming out of Paris. Because to be real with you, Kishane Thompson was probably supposed to win that race, but he didn't. And then we never saw him on the track again for the remainder of 2024. And then Noah Lyles went on a victory tour, wearing the title of the world's fastest man, at least right now. But he wasn't the fastest on the clock for all of 2024. That was still Kishane Thompson. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like, and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. And I admit that for the most part, at least the casual track fans, Kishane Thompson came out of nowhere in 2024. But remember I brought up Christian Coleman, his other rival, because that is proof that he didn't just pop out of nowhere. If you were paying attention in 2023, Kishane Thompson was not on the starting line for the World Championship meet. I don't have all the reasons as to why that didn't happen, but I do know he was at the Jamaican Trials, and he ran fast in his preliminary heat, but he didn't keep running through that meet. So I'm just going to assume that he was probably injured. But the first time I noticed him is when he ran 9.8 seconds in a Diamond League race in China. But Christian Coleman was out in front in that race. And then he showed up to run again in the Diamond League final. That was at the Prefontaine Classic in Eugene, Oregon. Christian Coleman won that race again, where he became the 100-meter Diamond League champion. The fact of the matter is this: in 2023 and 2024, we didn't see a whole lot of Kishane Thompson, but when we did, he ran incredibly fast. He just wasn't in front of the race in the championship races, whether it was a Diamond League final or the Olympic final, when we actually saw him on the starting line. But this 60-meter dash performance, which is still going to go down as unofficial, they're probably not going to give him credit for a world lead because it was run outdoors. It doesn't matter. It is all the proof that we need that he is at least as fast as those men, if not even faster. And that includes in a 60. But Kishane Thompson's old PR in the 60-meter outdoors was only 6.67 seconds. That was in 2022. And I bring up that year for a reason, because up until that year, he had never run faster than 10.21 seconds in a 100-meter dash, and he'd only barely broken the 21-second barrier in the 200. Those numbers are likely the reason why track and field fans had no idea who Kishane Thompson was going into 2023. And remember, in the eyes of a casual track fan, if you're not in the front of the race, you might as well be in last. Remember, I said that part to a casual track fan, because Kishane was running very fast in 2023. He just wasn't in front for either of the pro races that I was paying attention to. But that was back then, and this is now. Because every time that Kishane Thompson touches the track from this point on, we will have great expectations. Winning an Olympic medal will do that for you. As far as I'm concerned, it's even more than that. I'm actively going to be looking for him now. Anytime he touches the track, even if it's a 60-meter dash, outdoors for a race that is technically going to go down as unofficial anyway, because every single sprinter wants to be the fastest man in the world, but only a few people actually have the talent to pull it off. Kishane Thompson is one of those men. For that matter, some people would argue that he already was. And now that 2025 is starting like this, you could even make an argument that perhaps he still is. The only thing that he had left to do is to go out there and prove it in the one race where the entire world is watching, by finishing in the front, even if it's by 1,000th of a second, because historically speaking, that is actually how you become the world's fastest man. Kishane Thompson is no longer just one of the world's fastest men. He is now officially a phenomenon, because somewhere between the last Olympics and now, he has turned into such a thing where whenever he runs, people make it their business to pay attention. And I am one of those people, because at the World Indoor Tour, in his first indoor race of his career, I made it my business to get up incredibly early in the morning, at least in America, to watch both the semifinal and the final. And yes, I have some thoughts. And in case you're wondering, yes, he did win the event, but it did not go how anybody thought it would. To set the stage, just the week before, he ran 6.48 seconds, at least that's what they told us, into a minus headwind of 2.1 meters per second. That is incredibly fast, and did go down at the fastest time in the world this year, which isn't that shocking when you remember he ran the fastest time in the world last year in the 100-meter dash, which is why people were surprised when he didn't cross the line in front during the Olympic final, even though 0.005 of a second is really the reason why, and Noah Lyles. And I also have to add this part for context, because in that Jamaican race where Kishane Thompson ran 6.48 seconds, once again into a minus headwind, they also told us that Kishane Banks, a name that nobody was paying attention to up until now, ran 6.54 seconds. So when we got to the meet in Astana, Kazakhstan, the first indoor track and field race that Kishane was ever going to run, both men were on the starting line, and in the semifinals, if we're focusing on Kishane Banks, he did not make the final. This is a final where you only had to run 6.8 seconds to get on the starting line, and he couldn't pull it off. I have nothing more to say about that. I'll just let the comment section handle it for now. As far as Kishane Thompson's 60-meter semifinal goes, he won that heat in 6.58 seconds, which is a tenth of a second slower than 6.48. I'll get to why in a moment for both the semifinal and the final, because you kind of already know where this is headed. He didn't run all that fast in either race. But what does matter is who else was in the field. Demek Kemp of America was in the field. That is a man who's run as fast as 6.50 seconds in his career. Granted, his fastest over the last 4 years is only 6.55 seconds. Demek Kemp was out in front through the 40-meter line in that race. Kishane Thompson had to run him down just to win that heat. And Ali Anwar Al-Balushi of Oman was also in that same heat. When he was in the final, he actually got second overall. And his personal best is apparently 6.50 seconds himself. So what I'm trying to say is these are, for the most part, professional indoor runners, even if these are names that you don't really recognize. To be real with you, the only other man on the starting line that most track and field fans might be familiar with was Andre DeGrasse of Canada. But let's be real, he's very well known for sprinting, but not necessarily for sprinting in the 60-meter dash. Even when he was in college, he wasn't winning that event, so it's really not a surprise that he didn't finish top 3 here in the final. I also left something out about Demek Kemp. I do apologize. He was the defending champion from this specific meeting, the Astana, Kazakhstan meeting, last year in 2024. So that does count for something. Now let's get to the Kishane situation in depth. In the final, the time that they gave us is 6.56 seconds. And if you need perspective on that, because most people do, we don't follow the 60 like that. There are college kids right now through December and January who've run faster. I'm just going to give you one. Johnny Dwyer of Penn State is a college freshman, and he ran 6.55 seconds in his first collegiate final. That was in the month of December, and later Barnabas Agur, who runs for an NAIA program, not even NCAA D1, ran 6.52 seconds in the 60-meter dash. He does compete for Ghana and is old enough where he certainly could be on the pro circuit. So, that said, it is what it is. But it gives you a comparison note to note the quality of the race that we just witnessed. Kishane Thompson had never run indoors up until this point. And indoor track and field is so much different from outdoor track and field that there's a reason why at the college level, they basically consider them to be two separate sports with their own championships. The event structures aren't exactly the same, the track itself isn't the same, many of the dynamics around it aren't the same. The only thing that is the same is that there will be a gun, there was a starting line, and you gotta get to the finish line first. Kishane Thompson pulled that part off, which is what matters most. But the narrative around Kishane Thompson, the one that had been building from the Jamaican National Trials all the way up until now, is that he is the fastest man in the world. And after the 60-meter dash that they told us about last week, everybody is expecting, when he touches the track, to put down times that nobody else in the world can run. That's putting a lot of expectation on one man. But he's also one man who looked like he could handle those expectations. The only real question that remains now is, what does this race mean going forward? Because we don't know if we're going to see Kishane Thompson at the World Indoor Championship meet. Last year, Christian Coleman and Noah Lyles showed up, and they were both capable of running 6.4 low. I do believe that with a full indoor season, Kishane Thompson could run those types of times. He might even touch 6.3 from what I can tell. But indoor track and field, specifically the 60-meter dash, is a little bit different than the 100. Christian Coleman can tell you that. If you really want to win anything indoors, you do need to make it a priority. But we do need to stop the narrative that winning indoors does not have any correlation with what happens outdoors. Remember, last year in the 60-meter dash, I don't even have to go further back in history. The three men who went 1, 2, and 3 at the World Indoor Championships were Christian Coleman, Noah Lyles, and Akeem Blake. If we just focus on the brief history of their careers, like the most recent years, Christian Coleman is a world champion from 2019, but we're pushing that back. He's the Diamond League champion from 2023. And within the Diamond League final, and if I remember correctly, got second. The only reason why he wasn't running the 100 at the Olympics is because we sent the Avengers in the short sprint to represent Team USA. Somebody had to get left off the team in the 100, and it happened to be him. And there's absolutely no reason for me to pretend to fill you in on what Noah Lyles has done between last year's World Indoor Championships, where he got a silver medal, all the way up until now. Because the one race where everybody had to run in the 100-meter dash, he was in front. I rest my case. And Akeem Blake, who wasn't in that Olympic final, was in the Diamond League final. The same final where Christian Coleman was the defending Diamond League champion, and he emerged as the victor. So yeah, the 60-meter dash actually matters. The only thing I'm not aware of up until this point is, does the 60-meter dash matter at all to Kishane Thompson going forward? Because now that he's run indoors and done it at the pro level, he kind of knows what to expect. 6.56 and 6.58. That's where we're starting the negotiations from. With more training, he will get faster. But under those conditions, what are we really expecting? 6.4? 6.48? 6.45? 6.43? Because people have been talking about world records every time they bring up his name. And when he touches the track, he knows that is now going to be the expectation. But in the eyes of a casual track fan, it's even more than just running fast times. You're supposed to be in the front of the race during the one race that you actually need to run, which is always the 100-meter final. And this year, it will be at the World Championships, which is another competition that he had actually never run in. If you go back to 2023, he was not on the starting line. That said, he had better do whatever he thinks he needs to do, whether it's running indoors or not, to be ready for that final. Because in the sport of track and field, if you're not in first place, at least to a casual track fan, notice I said that part, you might as well be in last. And that's Kishane Thompson is a very big deal. He's the Olympic silver medalist in the 100-meter dash, but that's really selling him short. Because last year in 2024, he ran the fastest time in the world that year, recorded in the 100-meter dash. That is the reason why many people still consider him to be the fastest man in the world, because the clock is what they care about. Hey, it is what it is, and that's not the debate that I'm here to have. I actually had no intention on making this video at all, but I just got word, and I'm very glad that I actually get to talk about it, because here we go. It seems that Kishane Thompson, well, his coach is putting it out to the world, that Kishane will be on the starting line for the World Indoor Championships in the 60-meter dash. You have to understand how big a deal this is, because as of right now, there is no evidence to suggest that anybody else from that Olympic final is supposed to be running at that World Indoor Championship meet. The same Olympic final where Kishane Thompson, controversially depending on who you ask, got the silver medal in the 100. Kishane Thompson ran the 60-meter dash this year, and I admit, he is now a phenomenon, because when he hits the track, people pay attention. It doesn't matter what track he's running on. He ran an outdoor 60-meter dash with a negative 2.1 wind that was 6.48 seconds. It was apparently his season opener. That practically broke the internet, because one, outdoor 60-meter dash races really aren't a thing. And two, it wasn't just that he ran it, it's that he ran into a negative headwind and recorded one of the fastest times that you would expect to see. Now, that was then. This is now. He did go indoors to Kazakhstan, a race that I got up very early in the morning here in America and to be able to actually watch it. And He did win the event, which is what everybody expected, but he only ran 6.56 seconds. I say only because once you put that outdoor time on the board, it looks slow in comparison. But hey, it is what it is, because last time I checked, the 60-meter dash is an indoor track and field event. So here we go. If Kishane Thompson is going to come back and is going to run at World Indoors, we all know what we expect. People expect to see him to win that event. Anything less than gold would be a failure. But let's clarify. On talent, from what we just saw in Paris, I guess I would have to go down in the camp that would expect him to win. If Kishane Thompson is healthy and he's on the starting line and he's able to compete at his best, you gotta put him as the front runner. And for those people who don't know history on this, Jamaica does run the 60-meter dash. Asafa Powell ran the 60-meter dash all the way through the World Indoors. I don't know if he did it in multiple seasons, but he did it once. And that year he actually got the silver medal. But the guy he lost to was Trayvon Bromell, who is one of the fastest men we've ever seen this side of Usain Bolt. That was a young Trayvon, but hey, it is what it is. And that was Asafa towards the back half of his career. So we really don't know what he would have ran if he were, quote unquote, at his peak level of performance. On the women's side, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Veronica Campbell-Brown ran World Indoors in the 60 and won the gold medal in that event. So yes, Jamaica does this. And most recently, Akeem Blake did go indoors to run the 60-meter dash. He got the World Indoor bronze medal behind Noah Lyles and Christian Coleman. But when he went outdoors, even though he didn't make the Olympic final, he is technically the Diamond League final champion, for what it's worth. So, simply put, Jamaica does this. But when Kishane Thompson hits the track, for this World Indoor, it drastically changes the event from the outlook. Because up until now, the field for the World Indoor 60, as far as I'm concerned, was, we don't really know who America's going to send yet, at least at the time I'm recording this video, but we know who they're supposed to send. If you're just going by history, we're supposed to send Ronnie Baker and Trayvon Bromell. Let's just go out on a limb here and assume that they are the men that America sends. Because if they're not, well, I'll get to what that world looks like in a moment. But assuming they go, then now it's Trayvon Bromell, Ronnie Baker, two former Olympians, both of which are World Indoor medalists. Trayvon Bromell, I already said, is a World Indoor gold medalist. They are now going out there with Kishane Thompson. But Kishane Thompson is the most recent name that most track and field fans will recognize, based on what we saw in 2024. Because the other two weren't at the games in 2024, and he was. And he came back with a medal in the race that everybody paid attention to. So yeah, I guess, going back to what I said, Kishane should be able to win that. And if he does, it does now, in my opinion, add even more build-up to him and Noah facing off at what I expect to be the World Championship event. Because I would love to see them race in professional races between now and then. I just don't expect it's going to happen. The way this sport is set up, I totally understand that there are some people who don't think it's a good idea for any athlete, much less Kishane Thompson, to focus on the indoor track season. But I ain't buying it, and here's why. Indoor track and field, if we just want to go off of recent memory, in 2024, Noah Lyles on the men's side and Julian Alfred on the women's side both took the 60-meter dash indoors seriously. They ran all the way through to the World Championships. Noah Lyles, in that case, the only reason he got second, I'm going to argue, is because the man who is the world record holder in that event was also in that race. That's the only reason he didn't get the gold. And Julian Alfred, ain't nobody in the world touching her in a 60. There's all the evidence to suggest that. The only woman who's ever run faster than her in that event did it 30 years ago. I'm not making this up. Both of those athletes went outdoors, and when they got there, they won the world. So when people say that the 60 will mess up your 100 and it doesn't translate, I'm sure those are debates that can be had in the comments, and I'm more than happy to have those conversations with people who are willing to have them and, be respectful about it. But recent memory tells us the 60 does impact the 100 positively from a training standpoint as well as from the success you actually have out there. But the other reason Kishane Thompson running the 60 is a very big deal is because, like I said, you gotta give the people what they want. track and field right now is in a place where we're somewhere in between boxing and the UFC. If we're being honest, all these races we run in, all the races we're running, they're just races. They don't mean anything if you can't put people who we want to see on the track. And people want to see Kishane Thompson on the track. It's the reason why he could run an outdoor 60 meter that really didn't mean anything. It was just a race. It wasn't even like billed as a major pro race. But hey, people wanted to see it. I wanted to see it. A whole bunch of other people tried to stream it to see it. But the internet lit up once the race was over because people cared. The World Indoor Championship is supposed to mean something. So when you bring an Olympic medalist, one with the type of, I don't even know if you can call it hype anymore. It's just the mystique of Kishane Thompson. It's the way that he came to the scene. Because if you go back to 2022, that's not a name anybody was saying. You go back to 2023, he was there, but nobody really noticed. His biggest race was losing to Christian Coleman. Just being honest, it was a race where he lost in a Diamond League race. He showed up to the Prefontaine, and no, he wasn't all the way in the front. And then you move on to 2024, where we didn't really see much of anything from him. I mean, he ran one pro race, as far as I know, that wasn't the Jamaican Trials. I mean, he won that race, but then lit it up at the Jamaican Trials. And the story that we received from this side of the world is that he wasn't even trying all that hard, that he quote-unquote shut it down to run that world-leading time. Then you have everything that happened in the Olympics. Which brings us to this part of the story. This movie is just getting good. Because Kishane Thompson, if he's going to World Indoors, I'm expecting to see gold medals go back to Jamaica. It doesn't mean that there's nobody else in the world who can stop him. But if we're just going off of the clock, aside from what Lockie Kennedy did down in Australia, fundamentally speaking, 648, negative 2.1, yeah, you'd have to put that on the boards as the best thing we've seen this year. The rest of the world's best men are not going to lie down during the championship. And if America's best men can show up in top form, Kishane Thompson is definitely going to have a run for his money. But the way the track and field community is understanding this, at least the way I understand it, is people feel like they know how this movie is supposed to go. Kishane Thompson is supposed to go indoors, over to China, and come back with a gold medal. Anything less than that would be a failure. I don't necessarily see it that way, because if Noah Lyles can go indoors and lose, and he was losing for quite a few years, he won the 100 in 2023 at the Worlds, and he did run some 60s that year, as far as I remember, but no, he did not win World Indoor, and again in 2024 he didn't win it either. So the 60 can be a step towards future success, but for now, I recommend that you stay tuned to this episode of the Kishane Thompson saga. I'm talking about the episode that's gonna be airing in China in just about a month's time, because this show is really just getting good. First time Kishane Thompson ran 9.77 seconds. It was the fastest time in the world for the entire year of 2024. That is why even when he got the silver medal at the Olympics, most people still saw him as the world's fastest man. From that moment up until now, anytime he steps on a track, people pay attention, and that includes me. So, after everything that went down between the 648 outdoor 60 into a minus 2.1 headwind, as well as him running his first indoor professional race and winning, when we were told that he was going to run at the World Indoor Championships, an opportunity to get his first gold medal on the world stage, I wasn't just excited, I was paying very close attention. And now, I have to be honest with you, I had absolutely no intention on making this video, but when news like this drops, I figure I should probably share it with you. Kishane Thompson is no longer going to be running at the World Indoor Championship. That story more or less just broke that him, as well as Tia Clayton, who through this year are the fastest 60-meter runners that we've seen out of Jamaica, they're not going to be competing at the World Indoors, even though we thought they were. And I have a lot of emotion about it. And this is one of those videos where I'm just going to share how I actually feel about it. Not going to do a whole lot of crazy editing. But I think we should have a very real conversation. Because I get it. He is allowed to not run if he thinks that's what's best for him. That is not the discussion that I'm having. But the problem is, in professional track and field right now, we really don't know when we're going to get to watch the fastest athletes in the world compete. we basically have two worlds, where on one end, you have athletes who get so big and build a brand that honestly isn't 100% about track and field at all, where they don't really need to run because there's no amount of money you could pay them to go out there and run that would actually matter. Sha'Carri Richardson, Noah Lyles, people like that. You know exactly who I'm talking about, and yes, I did say the names. But when you move off of that, the majority of the track and field community has to keep running because if they actually want to make any money from the sport, they don't have a choice in the matter. There's not a whole lot of money to go get in the prize pots. And yes, the Diamond League is going to pay a little bit more this year. And Grand Slam will give a few people an opportunity to make real dollars from competing in track and field. But the World Indoor Championship itself has for the most part felt like a JV event specifically in 2025. Nobody, as far as I know, who competed in the Olympic final, yes, I'm talking about the sprinting events right now, in the 100 or the 200. On the men's side, none of them are planning on showing up. Kishane Thompson was going to do it, and even though he would have been my favorite, it wasn't going to be a walk in the park because Ronnie Baker, who's one of the fastest men to ever run the 60-meter dash, and also is an Olympian, was going to show up representing America. So that was going to be a battle, and it was going to be worthwhile to watch. But now when you take an athlete like Kishane Thompson out of the field, to be real with you, what are we supposed to get excited about? The only reason I care so much, because we're talking about a world championship, and every time I listen to track and field athletes who are at the pro level, that is what their focus is on. Everybody seems to be concerned about the world championship event, and I get it, in their minds, and perhaps even for their bank accounts, the outdoor world is what matters. But you can't really build infrastructure or build more value, more reputation, and at the end of the day, more money for everybody if we don't know what the product is that we're actually about to go get. As far as I understand, World Athletics has been promoting the World Indoor Championship and using Kishane Thompson's name as a part of that promotion. Why? Because to be real with you, in this world, people don't really care that much just about the event itself. Like watching track and field for track and field's sake, that might work for a few people, and if you're one of those people, that's fine. And you can even let me know in the comments. I'd like to know how many of you actually are out there. But most people care about watching the big names in the sport, and Kishane Thompson is one of those big names. I'm not saying this is a no call, no show moment where he was supposed to be on the line, you're looking at the heat sheets, and all of a sudden when you look over at that lane, he's just not there. This is not that. He did tell us at least a few weeks in advance. But it still is an incredible letdown because I am aware, and the internet community is aware, that even just the idea that he was going to be competing was enough to get people excited. Whether or not you think indoor actually matters, gold medals on the world stage do not grow on trees in this current track and field model. There's only a few people who actually have them, and the ones who do, for the most part, have more than one. Even when you think about the 60-meter dash, I'm just going off of memory here. In 2024, Christian Coleman got that 60-meter dash gold medal, but he already has a world championship gold medal in the 100. Marcel Jacobs also has both an Olympic gold medal and a world indoor championship gold medal. Do you see where I'm going with this? So even if you don't think indoor matters, the people who win gold in that event, the 60 I'm talking about, it does matter. So if Kishane Thompson is opting out, which he is allowed to do, somebody else is about to get a gold medal, because it's definitely not going to be him since he's not coming to the line. I say all that to say this. I cannot be the only person who is frustrated with the track and field world, where we have no idea, for the most part, when we are going to see top athletes go out there and compete. We just don't know. Grand Slam track is supposed to be the first time that there was any level of consistency, like any level at all, where months out, you kind of know which top athletes are going to compete and in what events. You even know where those tracks are going to be, and we even now know how we're going to watch it. I get it. Not everybody's bought in on Grand Slam, but Grand Slam track is going to Jamaica. That's where they're going to do their kickoff. And as far as I know, because they haven't put this information out yet, Kishane Thompson is probably not going to be on the starting line as a challenger. Can somebody please make that make sense to me? Because yes, maybe the argument is that it's all about the worlds. But you can't build a pro sport if you're afraid to go out there and, I don't know, be a pro. Every single functional pro sport, athletes have to go out there and compete because the professional part is about being paid to go do the sport. So if track and field is going to remain in a state where we only focus on one moment on the calendar, not only is it a bunch of missed opportunities, but you're going to struggle to ever sell that one moment. It just is what it is. The Olympics is the one moment that you can sell. I don't think we can sell anything else to the masses. I'm talking to the casual track fan right now. The people who want to watch the Olympics and are curious about track, but didn't even know the World Championships exist for the most part, and definitely don't know anything about Pro Track, the Diamond League, or anything else. Remember, Grand Slam track is brand new. It's brand new, so we're gonna put that on the shelf. You need to actually go out there and compete to market the product. And because we market the sport, focusing so much on the clock above all else, I'm not saying this is true, I'm just saying how it feels from the outside. It feels as if athletes are legitimately afraid to lose. Up until this year, I'm gonna say this part. Noah Lyles, through his Olympic gold medal in the 100, had proven he was not afraid to compete. So yes, although I want to see him on Grand Slam, and I understand he's not a racer, and it's looking like he probably won't even be a challenger, the one thing you can't say about him is that Noah Lyles has not been afraid to go to a starting line for whoever wanted that smoke. He wasn't even good at the 60 early in his career, and then fought his way to becoming a World Championship silver medalist, and won the USA's against the same guy who got the gold. So you gotta give him credit for that part as well. He wasn't even supposed to be a 100 guy, and then he climbed his way up to the top of that list. But he was running 100s for years. Even if people really didn't take it that seriously. It wasn't like he just randomly just hopped in the 100, he just at one point decided, I'm gonna try to make this more of a main thing. He competed quite a bit, year in and year out, and maybe you could say some of that was youth. But fundamentally, we are now at a point where, he has climbed to a place where there's really no amount of money you could pay him to make it just about the running for the money. Because he got money that has nothing to do with that anymore. If he's running because he wants to run. More importantly, because he thinks that it matters for his legacy. And in the current world we're in, almost nothing else matters for your legacy except the Olympic Games. Kishane Thompson was there. He got a silver medal in the 100, and that was then. And we've got to wait till LA in 2028 till he can come back to that stage. So I don't know when I'm going to get to watch him run. Between now and then, I can assume, for the most part, I should probably plan on seeing it in September at the Worlds. But even that's not a safe bet in the current world we're living in. So I totally understand if you have a very different opinion on all of this. But somebody had to say something, because this is definitely getting out of hand. Since Kishane Thompson ran the fastest 100-meter dash for 2024, I have made it my business to pay attention whenever he actually hits the track. And to be real with you, it's not all that hard to do because he doesn't compete all that often, just saying. There were reports that he would be competing at the Miramar Invitational this past weekend, the exact same weekend where a Grand Slam track was kicking off their league in Jamaica, in the National Stadium, might I add. Regardless, those reports about Kishane Thompson, I didn't really pay that much mind to it because I do my homework. I looked at the starting list, I looked at the entries, and his name was nowhere to be found. Not in the 100, not in the 200, I don't even think they ran a men's 200, and not even in the 300 because they ran the 300. On the women's side, we heard that Tarika Jackson and Julian Alfred were going to run, and that Sha'Carri Richardson was not going to run, even though reports were that she would. And hey, even though Julian Alfred got the victory in that race, again, the 300 really doesn't mean anything, the Miramar Invitational is officially a Continental Tour Gold event. So this is supposedly professional track and field. And I bring up Grand Slam track for a reason, because Kishane Thompson is a Jamaican athlete. For that matter, so is Tarika Jackson and even Tia Clayton, who all ran in Miramar. And there were actually quite a few Jamaicans who competed there. But Grand Slam track is supposed to be a league for the fastest athletes in the world. So obviously if Kishane Thompson wanted a lane, he could have got one. All that being said, I had absolutely no expectation that he was actually still going to be on the track because he wasn't running in an open event. And then I see footage of Kishane Thompson running a 4x100 meter relay. To put this in perspective, he ran a 4x1 at the Miramar Invite with a team of Jamaican athletes, which is fine, and they were competing against a team of Dominican athletes. Neither team ran fast, just being honest, the Jamaican team didn't even break 39 seconds in the 4x1. To put it in perspective, a whole bunch of college teams out there are able to pull that off right now. I get it. Season and where people are in their training, but Kishane Thompson ran that anchor leg. And between them and the Dominican Republic, because hey, if it's early in the season, it's early for everybody, they didn't even win that relay. Again, that's just the facts. And when I watched the footage, after everything that actually goes down, the fact that Kishane Thompson is competing under these pretenses, I'm not telling him he can't do what he needs to do for his training. I'm not saying that athletes can't, that's not the discussion. But if we ever needed to understand why we needed Grand Slam track or something like it, this is all the evidence you should have to look at. Allow me to go over all of the facts. Grand Slam track created a league that's supposed to be for the fastest athletes. And when you win an Olympic medal, you are one of the fastest athletes in your event. When they went to go figure out who's going to be in these fields, especially for Jamaica, I'm pretty sure that they asked all the fast Jamaicans, like the ones who the world recognizes as the fastest, to join, whether as a racer or as a challenger. And hey, I'm not here to say about who should and who shouldn't. That's not the discussion. But those same athletes, when they end up running somewhere else, and then what we get is either you're running an off-brand event, like a 300. So, hey, as far as I'm concerned, that's a practice run because it's not an official event. And then you're running a 4x1 under those pretenses where handoffs are spotty. We're not really running that fast, like top to bottom. Like, again, this is supposed to be professional track and field. Or, I guess, professional track if we want to be really precise about it. I want to see Kishane run. And I know most of you want to see him run too. But to clarify, when we say we want to see Kishane Thompson run, we don't actually mean we want to see him run a 4x1 with one other team on the track where they're not running anything close to as fast as these teams are capable of. Like, it's just kind of a slap together event that's just kind of happening. I mean, this is a meet where they had other events where athletes could compete. But this is the state of pro track and field. Again, pro track, since we're trying to be real precise about it. Most athletes are only focused on one moment on the calendar, and that's all the way at the end of the year. And the real conversation that I guess we might as well go there is let's talk about what it really means to be a pro. Because the way you become a pro, the way I understand it, is you've got to go incredibly fast. You're probably going to have to do it consistently enough to prove that somebody should give you an apparel contract in order to go out there and do it. From that point on, they have different details about your schedule and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, people really just want to see you compete at the World Championships or the Olympics if it's that time on the calendar. If that's all we're doing, I've said it before and I'll say it again, all these races are just practices. But the Miramar Invitational is starting to take that to a whole new level. Just consider, if you just wanted to run a 300, like no shade, just being honest, Tia Clayton is a 100-meter runner, but she ran an open 300 in Miramar and she did not run fast at all. I didn't expect her to run incredibly fast in that particular event. And Julian Alfred ran considerably faster. So did Sharika Jackson, which makes more sense because she had some 400 in her career and has great success there. But if you're just going to go out and run that slow, you can do that in training. You don't have to fly over to a professional event or whatever that means and line up to run that slow. It's the same thing with the 4x1. When you kind of slap together a group and say, okay, these are from Jamaica, Dominican Republic, it doesn't really mean anything. And like, it's not a full 4x1 field or anything like that. We're going to run that slow on the clock. Like we're calling it pro, but you have to understand, like, I'm trying to speak from the intersect between the track community, like the trackety track folk, like the ones who coach it and who run it at a very high level, like that group, all the way down to the casual fan. Because at the Florida Relays right now, people are going incredibly fast. College kids and high school kids are running incredibly fast. The way they compete at those levels, they run fast pretty consistently throughout the season. So I cannot blame a casual fan for not being able to understand why the pros do not run particularly all that fast all throughout the year. I get it. Like, I understand the concept of training, but if we're going to go out there, I've said this when it comes to what it means to be an athlete. When you step to the line, your reputation is on the line as well. That is exactly what fans kind of are getting, like the energy they get when you give them a product. So if you're gonna have a meet, and you're gonna film it, and it's gonna be labeled, whether it's Diamond League, Continental Tour Gold, or even Grand Slam track, there's a standard that should be upheld about what that competition actually is going to be. I'm not trying to attack the athletes. I get it, they're a part of a machine. But if we ever needed to understand why we needed Grand Slam track, and the standard they're putting, because hey, you can get mad about the fact that in April, people aren't going to run as fast as they will in September, especially when that's where the championships are supposed to be. Like, we could do that. But Grand Slam track has, again, put together a league that essentially functions at the bare minimum as a sparring ring, where you can't get in the ring if you haven't earned your stripes. Once you're in that ring, you better throw hands, because somebody's about to get knocked down. That's what Chris Bailey did, because he goes out there and runs the 400 meter world lead, and no, like the betting odds said he wasn't supposed to win that race for those people who do that. I mean, I know Chris Bailey is fast and in good form, but apparently whoever made the betting odds didn't pay attention to that. So hey, it is what it is. They made that league, and now we get to watch quality fields consistently, at least on that stage. No shade to what they did in Miramar, but let's also be aware, like, what did we actually watch and label as, you know, a professional event. And in case you saw my Grand Slam track day one recap, I'm gonna float this part out there. People talked a whole lot about the stands and whether they were full. Like, I get it. And where the TV cameras were aiming for Grand Slam track, like for day one, you really couldn't see most of the people who were there. I'm pretty sure that they might have had close to a third of the stadium full by the time the meet was over. And if it's a 30,000 seat stadium, you can do the math. That's about what? Probably around 10,000 people. Miramar, like that venue, only holds about 5,000. I mean, I'm sure they can maybe pack out a little bit more, but it only held about 5,000. And that thing was far away from full. Far away from full. So if people got something to say about the attendance at Grand Slam Track Jamaica for day one, you must not have been paying attention to Miramar. Like, clearly. Apparently, nobody was really paying attention as far as, like, was it a marquee event for people to show up? But if we're gonna go out there and run, I guess 4x1s that really don't mean anything, that more or less could have been done in training, and 300s that really don't mean anything, that more or less could have been done in training again, I can't really blame anyone. So hey, this is one of those moments where I figured I might as well let you in on the conversation. And let me know in the comments how you actually feel about it, because I'm paying attention to Grand Slam track this entire weekend. A day 2 recap is likely going to come out soon. But until we get to that moment, the Kishane Thompson situation still is a situation. The only difference is, it's way bigger than him this time.
100-meter dash, the Shanghai Diamond League. This was the race that so many people had been waiting for, because it was the first outdoor appearance in 2025 in the 100-meter dash for Kishane Thompson.
And we've been waiting.
Yeah, listen, we've been waiting. Everyone's been waiting. So there was tons of anticipation. We finally got it, but he didn't come out on top. I mean, do you want to dive right into the results, or what do you think?
Look, when I saw the race, this is the narrative, because there's a bunch of people in the field, but if we're just being honest about, like, well, one, how did it finish at the top?
Yeah.
And visually what I saw. Akani Simbini comes in as the world leader.
World leader.
So
yeah.
That means I see different things in the comment sections. Because on one end, people are like, hey, you know, he's the world leader, put some respect on his name. That's fair. But he doesn't have any world medals.
True. No individual medals outdoors in the 100.
Yeah,
that's
so,
60.
I mean,
yeah.
He doesn't have the 200 either.
I mean, yeah, he doesn't. He has a 4x1.
So
I think, yeah.
Kishane does.
Kishane has
and
100.
let's be real. He's the story. He's
a
what
story.
people want to see, because people want to see fast times. And he goes out and 40, 50, 60 in, and he's ahead.
Yeah, he's
and I'm thinking to myself, is Kishane going to keep pulling away? Because he's away. It's a wrap. He was doing what Christian Coleman was used to do, which is another story that we're not getting into right now.
Yeah.
And fundamentally speaking, Akani Simbini starts reeling him in.
Yeah.
And by the time he got to, because when he started making the move, I'm like, I think he's going to get him.
Yeah, because they were close. They were already kind of close. When you're talking about 50 meters, 60 meters in, that's when Akani starts to reel him in. It gets very, very close. And then we eventually passed. It was close, though. It ended up being very, very close. And Akani gets the win, though, by an edge.
So here's my question. What did we just learn in this race, though? Because at the end of the day, there's one winner. So the clocks, we can look at clocks all we want, but it's not a world lead.
Yeah.
It's not what it is. That's not what we're talking about. We now have seen Kishane Thompson outdoors in the 100. We've seen him. There's been a sighting.
Yeah.
And this is what we saw. So in your words, what did we just learn?
So for me, I actually take this as a big positive for Kishane. I actually think this is a big positive because it's his first 100-meter race of the year. We've seen him run, 60-meter dash races outdoors and indoors this year, but first 100 of the year. We saw him show up. That was like a question in itself. Everyone, I know the comments always say, if Kishane shows up, if he shows up. We saw him show up, and he ran sub 10. Now, the clock maybe isn't as indicative of, what performances are gonna show up later on in the year, but the fact that he ran sub 10 in his first race of the year against a high quality field. Yes, there was no Noah, there was no Fred, there was no Kenny, but Akani, Letsile, Christian, these are high quality guys. So to me, this was a win, even if he got second place. I don't think he needed to win this, personally.
I totally understand that argument. I'm just gonna make a different one. Because that's not how the streets think.
Is it?
You have to understand, going into this meet, because I've been trying to understand, I've really been trying to understand, because my channel is a reflection of what the community wants to talk about. As much as you may, it just is what it is. People want to know what Kishane Thompson's going to do. He's a thing. He's a situation.
He is.
Every time he runs, it's a situation.
Kishane Thompson's a situation.
The idea of him running is a situation. Because he might not actually run. So now the idea of him running is a situation.
Yeah.
And when you bring that up to the race itself, remember, Bolt essentially went for about 8 years straight without losing races.
Yeah.
The only time that I'll tell you the times I remember him losing. I remember him losing in a race where Justin Gatlin was wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah, one of the Diamond Leagues.
I remember him losing in a race where Tyson Gay was wearing a yellow shirt.
Yeah, that was Stockholm.
That happened.
2010, yeah, I remember it.
And I remember him almost losing to Jarnell Hughes.
Yeah, that was New
That
York.
almost
that
happened.
200.
It didn't happen. I just remember it almost happened in the 200.
They looked at each
You
other.
see how am I missing a race? Because if we're counting the false start, and you can add that.
That false start.
But-
You have Asafa in 2008 before the before the Olympic Games. to
Okay,
beat
fine,
him.
I
So,
guess.
But to your
that's
point,
before
it's
you
like,
saying what you think.
that's fair. It was after he broke the world record, but I think the first time. But to your point, it's like Bolt did not lose as much as the quote unquote normal athlete was.
But see,
Few
here's
and
the
far
thing.
between.
If that's the narrative that the world saw, we saw a world in which, we saw a world where an athlete essentially didn't lose. So now I'm supposed to go to a world where we're talking about it's a moral victory and it's a good race and he got second and it was a good field. There were no good fields when Bolt was running. He was winning. That's what it was. I'm not saying he's Bolt. That's not what I'm saying. Comment section, that's not what I'm saying. What I am discussing is, let's be honest about what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because Kishane Thompson is a situation. Hey, I love to see him run. I wish I could do it a whole lot more. I accept that might not happen as much as I would prefer.
Yeah.
But at least for just those two men, two entirely different narratives. One ran all the way through World Indoor, and the reason why he said he did it, correct me if I'm wrong, was because Akani wanted to be there on the podium in the 100, and he felt running the 60 indoors would help to get him there. Which leads us to the second conversation, which is the Christian Coleman discussion. Because I'm no disrespect to Emmanuel SMA, he's way better than you think. He's way better than you think. However, most people didn't realize that he was there for the last year or so.
It's fair, yeah.
I only started realizing because he won a Diamond League race last year.
He won a Diamond League race last year, I think 2024. He's been kind of in the mix, even 2023. He'd been at some Diamond League races, but he wasn't and he still maybe is not in the conversation.
Was Coleman fourth?
Coleman finished fourth place, I think.
No, he was fifth.
Oh, he was fifth. Oh yeah, because we had
Letsile was
See, Letsile was third.
Okay, well let's go there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
he was
I'm
third.
sorry. Let's go there. We're coming to Christian Coleman in a moment.
Akani, Kishane, Letsile, Emmanuel, and then Christian.
Okay, so I'll just say my thoughts and you go, because it seems like he did feel like it looked way better than last week.
Yeah.
Because last week it didn't. I'm just going to say, from our vantage point, again, we're talking about competitive sports. This is pro track. Last time I checked, if it's pro track, then it looked like he didn't 100% give what he was capable of in that race.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, as far as I'm concerned. So, third in this field, it's like, okay, I see with him, I would take your moral victory argument and say we're trending in the right direction.
Okay, I agree, because I think Letsile specifically, he doesn't have anything to worry about except like he'll be at World Relays next week. He's going to help his team Botswana qualify, but he doesn't have to worry about anything until September with the World Champs. And like it or not, that's the reality of the sport. Like these races are all preparation for the World Champs. So
Right now.
Right? I mean, for Letsile specifically,
For him,
because
well,
he has no trials.
Well,
like
I
he's
gotta
nothing.
say it. The Grand Slam world could change that, but that's not. We're on the way there.
If
We're on the way there.
one day. But for now, that's why I think like the progression is fine. But that's why I'm like with Kishane, I think it's a similar situation. He has to qualify at Jamaican Trials, but this is his first 100-meter race of the year. So that's why I'm like, I don't think there's too much pressure.
But how many more are you expecting to see
If he's already running
before Jamaican Trials?
Jamaican Trials is at the end of June.
And how many more hundreds are you expecting to see between now and then?
Well, if we talk about Kishane,
Because how many did we get last year before the trials?
last year before Trials, we got a half a race, I think.
So we already got more race than we got before Jamaican Trials.
So if he runs one more, I mean, which is crazy to say,
This is the conversation we're having.
but it's the hypothetical
This is
of
the real
like,
life. This is the real life.
the thing about Kishane is like, I would rather him run less frequently and stay healthy to be successful than run more frequently and potentially get injured. That's what I'm thinking, but that's why I think it's good.
Okay, I hear that. But okay, now I'm gonna jump over to the Christian Coleman experience.
Yeah.
His
Fifth
third
place.
race,
Third individual race, yeah.
and it's been about a month.
About in the past month, yeah, because the past couple weeks, he's at Tom Jones.
He
ran
finished
China.
third, fourth, and fifth in that order.
So
He went from third to finishing in fourth to finishing in fifth.
So he's going backwards. Well, okay, what do you think? Because I have some thoughts on Christian as well.
Let me back. Okay. I love Christian Coleman as a fan. So there's two sides to me. There's me as a fan, like wanting you to succeed, and then me calling it like I see it. I get it. It's a long season. But again, when you step to the line, as far as I understand it, your reputation is on the line as well. Remember, I gotta say this, the high school kids don't care. They go out there and they race all the time.
They do.
And that
They do.
sends an understanding of what track is.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's following that circuit, I just see Quincy Wilson running hard all the time.
Pushing it.
He don't care.
Pushing it.
And guess what? The other boys who we race against, they might be in high school. They like, oh, this is my day to beat an Olympian. I don't care neither. And some of them have pulled it out now. It's happened more than once.
That's a fact.
But Quincy also gets victories. So far, does Christian Coleman have a victory in 2025?
He doesn't. He does not. Like you said, third, fourth, and fifth place in the 100.
So we're going backwards. The clocks are not fast, and the start isn't there. It wasn't there today.
It wasn't that Christian Coleman that we know, who's arguably the greatest starter, at least of the current guys, maybe in history. Like, you can argue that. But yeah, today it wasn't there.
I think it's an argument
There's
that almost nobody's going to win on the other end.
Yeah.
But that was then, and this is this moment.
Yeah.
Again, things might work themselves out. I'm not going to go down or descend down an alternative path. I'll just stay on this one mainline point, which is we're talking about races where there's been none of the American men who beat him at the trials.
None of them. Yeah.
None.
Noah, Kenny, Fred, none of them. Yeah.
Because I still believe that last year, the form he was in, send him to the games. Just send him there.
He's getting at least in the final. In my opinion, in the 100 and the 2.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, he's making the final. So what do you think of this performance? Do you think
Of him?
for Christian, this fifth place performance and coming off the trend of the hundreds that he's had? Like, where do you see this kind of going as we look
This is
forward?
one of those times where the thumbnail is not a lie. I'm concerned. Not that I lie on the thumbnail, but I'll only say, should we be worried?
Should we be
Question
worried?
mark, exclamation point. Which means, open up for debate. Should we be concerned? I'm concerned. I'm not saying I don't have the answers. I don't have any of the answers. The narrative might shift, but
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Should we be worried? Yes, you probably should.
To be worried. Okay.
I mean, because here's the argument I'm gonna go back to. People be talking about it's the first race. How many other races that other people been running?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like in college. You remember in college when people would say, "Oh, it's the first meet." It was the first meet for everybody who beat your behind.
I know.
But you talking about it's the first meet.
It's the first. That's true. Oh man, I think, okay, my perspective, I'm like maybe not on the full concern because I still am of the opinion that he has time to progress. We've spoken about Fred Curley last year. he was at these Chinese Diamond Leagues not doing well. I might have put a video out saying like, should we be worried about Fred Curley? But he found, and even after that,
Wasn't he second to Christian early in the season?
But this is in a way less, like you didn't have Letsile, you didn't have, Kenny, and then he had finished third behind Akani and Christian in one of these. But eventually he got things together. Now I'm not saying Christian's gonna do that, but I do think he has the potential to get things together because USA's is all the way in August. Now the thing that is an issue is you have to get through Noah, Kenny, all these other guys, who are competing at the best of their game. And we've seen him unfortunately come up just short when making a team, with the ability to make a team, at least last year. So that's where I may have some concerns, but I don't want to say like, oh, this is like true concern right now.
I mean, concern doesn't mean it's over. Concern means it's not a foregone conclusion. See, right now, okay, let's talk about, I'm gonna give you the opposite so people can understand the difference of what I mean when I talk about concern. When I asked the question, should we be concerned about Sharika, I was asking it, and my answer in the video, for anybody who stuck around, was no, I'm not concerned.
That makes sense.
My concern would be, can she get to the form she needs to get to beat what this Julian Alfred looks like?
Yeah, that makes
this
sense.
Gabby Thomas is looking like she's gonna be.
That's realistic.
It's not her in her top form. It was, could she beat, because she wasn't there now. We know where they are now and where she is now.
Exactly.
But when it comes to Christian Coleman, I know where he is now and where everyone else is.
I
have evidence. It's all on the board.
Exactly.
And when I look at the boards, what I see is Christian Miller saw you in the same race with your first race of the season for both men. And what were the results? So I'm not saying, like, I'm just keeping it as a, like keeping it all complete in terms of like the understand.
That's fair.
I mean, these are my thoughts. I mean, hey, it was a great field. I mean, it was an entertaining race. I think it was.
A good race.
Obviously, the story's at the top.
Yeah.
The Kishane Thompson situation is still a situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the situation is coming back, but when it does, I'll be paying attention.
Yeah. I'll also say, because he won the race, and I feel like we slightly glossed over, but Akani Simbine, I think, whether or not he's able to get a medal later on in the year, that's still up in the air individually in the 100, but he is someone who's very, very consistent, and I appreciate that he always shows up when it comes to these Diamond League races. Like, he treats these like, yo, this is an important race that I need to win. Now, again, whether that translates into a medal later on in the year, it's a whole different conversation, but he deserves a lot of credit for actually showing up and performing at these meets across the world.
Hey, I respect it. Yeah. I respect it, but stay tuned, because Grand Slam is going to drop the 100 for the men today.
Yeah.
And trust me, I will compare the notes between both meets, because we've got a high quality field on one end, and we have another one on this end. So I want to see how the chips fall when it's done.
How things show up. So we'll see. And we're in Miramar. They got some nice wind here in Miramar. So it's like
we've already found out.
Kishane Thompson is one of the most exciting athletes in all of sprinting. That is not an opinion, it is a fact. For that reason, he didn't just set a world lead in the 100-meter dash in 2024. He finished with the Olympic silver medal in that same event. From that moment up until now, I have decided that whenever he competes, I will pay attention. Which is why, when he ran in the Diamond League in Shanghai, in the 100-meter dash, it was his first 100-meter dash of the season, no less. I did exactly what I said I would. I paid attention. And then I shared my thoughts. This time it was actually in a conversation with Anderson Emerald of the final leg. And after I did, I read the comment section, because people had a whole lot to say about what I had to say about it. And now, I decided that instead of just responding to everybody's comments, we should have the real conversation. Because maybe I do have some things to apologize for. But if we're gonna go there, then let's actually go there. Because the Kishane Thompson situation is not going anywhere. This channel is a direct reflection of what you all are interested in. And guess what? People actually care when Kishane Thompson runs. He doesn't compete all that often historically. Once again, that's not an opinion, it is a fact. If you look at his report, there aren't that many races. He ran in one Continental Tour Gold race last year. That was a 100. And he also ran another race, if I remember correctly, prior to the Jamaican National Trials. He ran the Trials, and he ran in the Olympics. After that, we did not see Kishane Thompson on the track running the 100. once again, I'm just being real. He doesn't put that many races on the board. So when he ran in Shanghai and lost the 100-meter dash to Akani Simbini, he lost it at the line, a race that he was ahead up until that moment. And Simbini, who's in great form, he ran through to the World Indoor Championships. He got a medal at the World Indoor Championships, started off the season as the world leader. If I remember correctly, he's undefeated this year so far in the 100. And yes, it is still early in the season when you think about a track and field season that ends at the World Championships in September. But nevertheless, that's the race that we had to go off of. When I think about what people were saying, if there's anything for me to apologize for, here it is. I have to understand that this channel is, at this point, a channel that's become global, and I thank you all for that. That means that I have people who watch from all over, and if you're watching from anywhere, around the world that's not America, I thank you, and I truly appreciate it, and I'm glad to have you a part of this journey and a part of this community. That said, people have different perspectives on track and field, different perspectives on the sport, how it works, how you should train for it, how you should compete. I get it, there are different seasons as far as the way that the actual calendar seasons work, but everybody has the same 365 days and 12 months to work with. So considering on this channel, I spend a fair amount of time talking about professional track and field. I have to be aware that with all the different types of context, because I've had some conversations more recently with a lot of stakeholders, athletes, people who cover the sport, it's become abundantly clear to me that for me, coming from the American context, somebody who came up in the American high school system, and then went into the American college system, NCAA Division I, even coached in that system. I see things through a particular lens. The American system isn't perfect, but it does do some things pretty well. And when it comes to sprinting, whether or not you like it, whether or not we talk about population size or anything else, we produce some of the fastest men on the clock, and for that matter, even in world championship and Olympic performances, year in and year out. That's not something that started recently. It's been going for more than the past 2 decades, really dates even beyond my lifetime. That said, America is not the center of the sprinting world. We're just one place, but there are other places that do it, and Jamaica is one of them. So when it comes to Kishane Thompson and some of the stuff that I said, some of the stuff that I read, the number one thing that came up was that first, Kishane Thompson doesn't run a whole bunch of races. So when we talk about whether or not his season opener was a good season opener for him, people can have different opinions. Anderson Emerald, he shared that he didn't think that losing the first race is that big a deal. And no, of course it's not a big deal. But it is something that we're dealing with because we're in a pro track and field world where people put so much emphasis on worlds, and the way the structure has been set up, at least going into this year, where nobody really thinks that much about the Continental Tour or the Diamond League. Grand Slam is here now, but for the most part, people don't think that much about those races. Generally speaking, the rhetoric is, as long as you qualify out of your trials, and you make it to the Worlds, and you take care of business, it's a good season. At least in the year 2025, that's how it's going to go down. That's how history is going to remember it. It's a good season if you did it at Worlds. That means that Kishane Thompson is going to be graded on that scale. And yes, I totally understand that perspective and not getting into the mechanics of how people train, but if we're just saying he doesn't race that much, here's my response. If he doesn't race that much, and this is going to get to the next point in a moment, if we're going to talk about the races, which personally, if you like track and field and want to see it thrive at the pro level, you had better hope that the races that we run at the pro level actually matter. I get it that the structure is not perfect, but we got to talk about the races. We have to pay attention to them like they actually matter. Because if I'm a Diamond League organizer and we're going to have athletes running in these races like they don't matter, treating them like practices, my product is not going to work anywhere near as long or anywhere near as effectively as it should. So let's just get that out of the way. We got to act like the races matter to some degree. If you say that they don't matter as much based on this and that brings us to the second point. If he doesn't race that much, I would say that we have to take those races very seriously because Kishane Thompson and his coaching staff, or his coaching group, they have a plan. And I get that. And that's one thing that showed up in the comments a lot. You gotta trust the plan, and you gotta trust his coaches, and you have to trust what he's working on. I am going to say this part. Please, I'm willing to hear you in the comments if you disagree with me. But I have talked to athletes, professional athletes, Olympic athletes, and I even talked about this specific conversation over the last few days. You do realize every single athlete who is competing on the pro circuit, every single one who hopes to be there at Worlds and have a medal, they all have a plan with their coaches. So when someone tells me, hey, Coach Rob, don't you realize that Kishane Thompson has a plan, that he's working on certain things at this point in the season, and this is his season opener? You don't think that all the other athletes had a plan too? So just saying that he has a plan, that should be considered, isn't all that big a deal to me, because it's really disrespectful to everybody else. Maybe you're saying that his plan and his coaching staff and like what they're working on is better. Like they might have a better plan to set him up for Worlds, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. We will find that out in time. But if that's what we're saying, then say what you actually mean. You can't just say he has a plan, that we have to factor that in, especially when there's no interview and there's no breakdown of saying what that plan is. And you should be clear on this. I think everybody knows this. There is no sprinter in the world who goes into a 100-meter race and says, my plan is not to win. You may not run at your best. Your legs may be loaded based off of, that's the term people use, based off of your training mechanisms. Like that all makes sense. It totally makes sense. But remember, everybody else has the exact same 365 days and 12 months, wherever you are in the world. So whatever your weather factors are and how your seasons roll around, the calendars for the meets don't change for everybody. The only thing that does change is your context. You have to make the best with your context. That's the way sports are. Like, it's just how it is. Every other sport that functions, to think in a more American context, like Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. But you can't use that as an excuse when your team loses. If you lose, then you lose. Because you had the same amount of players on your roster as they did, even if they had more money to spend. In this case, if your calendar and your weather factors and your seasons don't match up perfectly with the world ending in September, considering how, the American system and like how they're like all of that, it is what it is. It is what it is. But like, we can't change it. We can just grade the races that we get. Which brings us now to the biggest part of all of this. And if you stuck around this far into the video, I already know that you're a real one. That said, I'm gonna say this part anyway. It's probably gonna be unpopular, but like I said, here we go. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. If you want history and you want facts, like recent history, let's go there. In the Olympic final, Noah Lyles won the race. Kishane Thompson was right there, and I get it. There are some people who believe that race was Kishane Thompson's, and maybe it slipped away, or that he should have been, or was right there, or he could have been the champion. But at the end of the day, history's gonna remember that Noah Lyles was the victor, and I believe we all kind of get that. But here's the next half. At the end of the day, if you saw the report of how the race played out, Kishane Thompson ran away early. And Noah Lyles, like him specifically the victor, ran him down. He ran him down all the way to the line, and that's how he won on the thousands. He took it all the way to the last step and the lean. I was there. Stay with me on this, because I'm trying to make a carryover. I was there when Noah Lyles opened his season in the 100. He did it at the Tom Jones Memorial, now a little bit over a year ago, like a year and a week or two. When he did it, it was him and Kenny Bednarik who went all the way down to the line. If you pause the video around 40 meters, Noah Lyles was not in the front. He wasn't even in second or third. He was pretty far back in the field. But by the time he got to the line, he won that 100-meter race by less than 1/100th of a second. He won it all the way at the line. That means that he started his season in 2024 in the 100 and ended his season in the 100, ended his 100-meter season in 2024 in the exact same place. He won a race and then he won a race. Almost exactly the same way. And if you look at the report, the only time that Noah Lyles actually looked shaky was during the Olympic prelims and semifinals. That's it. I don't think he lost the 100-meter race at any other point in the year. Not in the USA trials, obviously not that Tom Jones meet. You get what I'm saying? He was pretty consistently in the front. And then he gets the Olympic gold. For context, here's the carryover. Kishane Thompson, his last race of 2024 was at the games in the final, where he got away from everybody early, and got beat all the way at the line, barely, by a hundredth of a second or less. It was less than a hundredth. Here we are, because if that was, like what, August of last year, and now we are in the month of May, like April, May. That means we are, 8 months or so removed from that race. And his first 100-meter race of 2025. He got away from them early. Don't you see this movie starting to sound very similar? He got away from them early. People were trying to chase after him. Specifically, Akani Simbini was trying to raise him down, like he was trying to chase him down, and got him at the line. This time, not on the thousandths, but by a hundredth of a second. I'm not complaining. I'm not taking shots at Kishane. His talent is undeniable. The fact that I'm even talking about him this much, and will continue to pay attention, is because he's so talented, because there's great expectation. But let us be clear. He ended his season, and then 8 months later, opened his season the exact same way. So when we talk about training and what athletes are gonna do, and it's okay for us to be fans, I totally get it. But let's again just realize that old habits aren't that easy to change. I'll throw one more name in here, and again, this is not a dig. I am a Christian Coleman fan. I am. But if you look at his report in the 100 between 2022, 2023, and 2024, unfortunately, he did have more or less some of the same types of issues in big races where he would get a lead early and then get ran down before he got to the line. It happened in the 2022 Worlds in the final. It happened in 2023 in the Worlds again in the final. It happened in 2024 at the Olympic Trials, which is why he wasn't at the games. Like, you get what I'm saying? Do I hope that, I want to see him succeed the same way that Kishane Thompson, I get accused of being anti-Jamaican or anti-Kishane or using him for clickbait? You can say what you want. It's just not true. Kishane Thompson is something interesting to talk about. It's something that I pay attention to. I actually pay attention, try to watch the races to the best of my ability, and I want to see what's going to happen as this movie unfolds. If you're talking about the stars of the sport, when we say the 100-meter dash, you gotta put him on that list. The only reason we ain't talking about Noah Lyles in the 100 is because he hasn't run one yet. Just being real, he hasn't. That's the only reason why that conversation has not been opened up. So with all that being said, I cannot control how you feel about my videos and what I say. I hope that you know that I say everything with the greatest intent possible. I have nothing malicious or negative. And for those who go into the comments, again, just being real. And for those who don't know, if people come into the comments and you decide to bring language that is disparaging, negative, disrespectful, or you call me outside of my name, it's just gonna get removed. You can state your comment. You can say you disagree with me. More than happy to read a bunch of disagreements on anything that I actually said. But if you're just gonna go to calling me outside of my name for lack of a better term, not only is it hard for me to take you seriously, but at that point, this is not a space where that is what we're going to do. There's no place for that behavior. And if you don't want to watch my videos because it makes you feel like you want to talk that way against me or anybody else for that matter in the comments, because sometimes people are jockeying with each other, that's fine. You can go somewhere else, but please don't bring it to this platform. Don't bring it to this space. That type of negativity, there's no place for it here. But going forward, I am going to continue to pay attention to the fastest athletes in the world, specifically what they do race to race, because this is the sport of pro track and field. That's what this is. That's what I'm talking about at the moment. And all we have are the races that are actually happening. And if we want the sport to grow, the races that are actually going on are going to need to get more and more and more attention. Again, I get it, the track has some unique elements to it and we try to train our way to a specific moment. But you can't have a pro sport if pros don't go out there and actually be pros. And I also got to give a shout out to Jamaica, because with the World Relays coming, the fact that Jamaica seems to be on the men's side and the women's side, basically sending all of their top athletes. I love it. Because I want to see Jamaica run the times that they are capable of. I have great respect for other international teams that have performed at the Olympics, but when we're talking about the men's side, the fact that we really did not get to see, as far as I'm concerned, we didn't get to see Jamaica or Team USA perform at their best. And by at their best, I mean healthy, with those athletes who we know can carry them, into medal contention, for lack of a better term. I mean, again, Jamaica and USA both dealt with injuries aside from whatever other issues might have affected the relays, because both nations are deep when it comes to the sprints. Like, I want to see Jamaica succeed because I know that they deserve it, especially when you have that type of talent. So for World Relays, which I will be paying attention to, and you'll probably hear my voice on it, I mean, if you so choose to, I'm expecting Jamaica to show out. Just saying. But as of right now, the Kishane Thompson situation is exactly that. It is a situation. And I will continue to pay attention. Witness the fastest weekend in all of 2025. But Kishane Thompson is one of the biggest reasons why. The Racers Grand Prix is always a sprinting carnival. And there were a whole bunch of things that happened, and I watched the entire meet. But let's be clear, the men's 100-meter dash was the main event, and Kishane Thompson is why that is true. They gave him a field that was worthy of him. But before I get there, I have to set the stage, because just one day before, in the Rome Diamond League, Trayvon Bromell announced that he is back. He went 9.84 seconds, wind legal, which is a new world lead, and officially started the party, where people are now expected to run 9.8 if you are legitimate. Because we've been saying for a while in the track world, well, it's early in the season and the season's going to end in September. Well, that might be true, but we are now in the month of June. So when the Racers Grand Prix went off, Kishane Thompson pulled away from the field. I actually expected Beyond the Walada of South Africa to have a good start this time, because I've started to realize that that is what he does. But when the race was over, forget when the race was over. The race was over about 60 meters in, because once Kishane Thompson had the lead, it was pretty clear there was nobody in this field who was going to reel him in. I have to give a shout out to Oblique Seville, because he seemingly has been getting over an injury from what happened when he was at the Atlanta City Games, but he still got all the way up to second place. And he broke the 10 flat barrier when he did it. But when Kishane Thompson goes 9.88 seconds with still wind, 0-0, that is a warning shot. And it's what we've been waiting for a very long time. You have to understand that Kishane Thompson went into the Olympics as a favorite in the 100-meter dash for a reason, because he ran the world-leading time of 9.77 seconds. And people want to see fast times. Trust me, I want to see them too. But there's only a few athletes who are actually sprinting in the game who can give it to us. There's a lot of people who have PRs of 9.9 or 9.89 or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying any names, but some of them were in that field. The issue is, those people cannot give you fast times on command. And I get it, you may not run it all the time, but there has to be a few moments on the calendar where you dial it in and say, I'm running run fast on that weekend. And you do it. Kishane Thompson just did it. His first race of the year, he went 9.99 seconds and got reeled in at the line by Akani Simbini. And although I am hard on Kishane Thompson, because when you are somebody with his talent, somebody we don't get to see race much, and we want to, that's the whole point. This is professional track. And in pro sports, the pros got to go out there and be pros. I get it, the world championships might be a focus, but that's an amateur event if we're just being honest. If you check the actual information, it's an amateur event. We want to see the pros go out there and be pros. We want to see the fastest athletes be fast. Kishane Thompson, all due respect, is one of the fastest athletes. Not just right now, but this side of Usain Bolt. And gold medals for Jamaica, they've been waiting to get that for a while. Kishane Thompson is their best bet. Him and Oblique going 1-2 at the Racers Grand Prix. Again, with a pretty legitimate field if we're being honest. That is still announcing to the world that they're going to be there. But make no mistake, Kishane Thompson is now the leader. He is the leader of the Jamaican contingent in the 100. So, what is the landscape now as we look forward to the Worlds? Because I'm going to tell you the names of the people who made it clear that they are ready to come play. When we look at the world stage, there's really only there's 3 tiers. There's tier 1, the people who are supposed to be in the final and are showing us why they're going to be there. Normally, they've already done it in the past multiple times. And then you have the second tier, the ones who could do it. We just don't know if they actually will. And then there's Group 3. Let's be honest, if you're in Group 3, you better be happy if you make the semifinals, because the final itself, that ain't you. I mean, a bunch of people would have to mess up for you to actually get in, at least with the report you've given us. Tier 1 athletes, at this point in the year, the ones who run times that only a very small group of people can actually run, and did so decisively. That list is as follows. We already know Kishane Thompson is on that list. And some people, might say that he already belonged on it because of what he did last year, but we're just going off of 2025. Like, just going off of 2025, or, past medal history, like recent medal history. That's the only way you're getting on my list. So Kishane Thompson is officially now. Like, in 2025, he's checkboxed, like, I belong on the list, and I'll let you know that I'm on the list. And now everybody else knows it, that if you see Kishane Thompson in your race, he's a problem. And people are likely not going to run quite like themselves, because when you are that talented, you have a tendency to control a race. But he ain't the only one. Kenny Bednarek has been slaughtering Grand Slam track up until this point, even with Oblique Seville there. I think you got to put him also on the top shelf, at least from what we're getting, because when you go 9.8, with a 10-0, with the first race down in Jamaica that he won, and then he goes 9.7, 9.79, and that was, wind assisted, but it wasn't like a 3-0 or anything like that. So 9.7, 9.8, like, you're in form. So that's 1-2. You got Akani Simbini, who was winning a whole bunch of races on the Diamond League circuit and, everywhere else all the way through this year so far, and beat Kishane, which is important. That's important. So you put him on the top shelf, and now Trayvon Bromell, because he went 9.91 and then 9.84. That is it. Those are the only men who have let us know this year they're on the top shelf. You can start grandfathering other people in if you want to. We can give it to Noah Lyles, even though at this point, he hasn't run a 100, or a 200 for that matter, throughout the entire outdoor season. And that is unique. Because to clarify, we have now seen Kishane Thompson run way more than we've seen Noah Lyles run outdoors. And if you had told me that was going to be the situation back in March, I never would have believed you. But hey, it is what it is. And if you want to throw anybody else in the bag, I guess we're already on the second tier, if we're just being honest. Because by this point, Fred Curley, he's like right in that window of the second tier, the ones who past medal history says you got to take him seriously, but this year's report is looking kind of sketchy, at least as of right now. Like, it is what it is. And then you move off of him, and then who else you got? Oblique Seville might be right on that cut again, similar to where Fred Curley is. Past history tells us he's going to be there. He's given us some good races. And this race's Grand Prix, which to me, I think is not really fully indicative of what he's capable of, because as far as I can tell, he really wasn't running like himself. He was just kind of getting back out there post-injury. So I think you almost got to look at this as a huge victory in the sense where if he really went that fast, given that it didn't look to me like he was Oblique Seville, I'm pretty sure that Oblique Seville in top gear, I don't mean like top gear like end of the season peak top gear, but Oblique Seville healthy would have, I think, ran away from that field even more and probably gave Kishane a run for his money. Like, I really believe that. That said, the list still gets very short when you start looking down. That second tier, we can throw some other names in there based off of past history. Fine, if you want to throw Christian Coleman in there, or, if we leave the Americans, you can throw, let's see, like, the Boho in there, and, like, again, we're going off of past history to get them in that second tier. But the first tier of the group, that short list of men who showed us in 2025 that they are ready to run. And we already know from the past that they've done it already. Kishane Thompson has done it already. He's gotten to an Olympic final, and he's walked away with a medal. There's only one thing left for him to do on the world stage. He's supposed to get a gold medal, individually in the 100. That's it. And if you don't think world and Olympics are, equivalent, then fine. He has to do it at the games in LA in 2028. But if you forget about that for a moment and just focus on, the task at hand, considering it seems that everything he's done this year is to line him up to pull that off again, to get to the world and win a gold. This race tells us that Kishane Thompson is exactly who we thought he was. There's a reason why we pay attention every time he steps to the line. There's a very real reason, because he can do things that almost nobody else in the world can do. He did that during the racer's Grand Prix. and I'm glad that I was there to see it. But everyone else who steps on the line with him, this year from this point on, whether it's at the Jamaican Trials, the World Championships, or if he even gets back out there on the Diamond League or the Continental Tour, they now know it as well. Kishane Thompson is a problem, and you're probably running for second place unless you're one of those men who are on that top shelf. 9.75 seconds. We have waited for over 7 years for any man in the world to run that fast in a 100-meter dash, and Kishane Thompson finally did it. At the Jamaican National Championships, he did what I fully expected he would, and I have the receipts to prove it. I told the world, like, hey, Kishane Thompson is about to go off. Like, on the calendar, it's pretty clear that's what's going to happen. And that's what he did. When the race started, he pulled away from the field. It was never really that close at any point, and the only thing we were watching was the clock, because we knew he was going to win about halfway through the race, especially by the time he got 70 meters in. And the clock told us 9.75. But that at the end, like, allow me to explain, I just gave you the end of a very interesting story, so allow me to set the stage. The 100-meter final for the men at the Jamaican National Trials is always a very big deal, because Jamaica takes sprinting seriously. Going into this one, the conversation was actually pretty interesting because nobody really knew what we were going to get between, yes, Kishane Thompson was the clear favorite, but after that, it was sort of kind of open because you had Oblique Seville, Akeem Blake, and Brian Lavelle, all of which have a very different narrative that led them to these trials. Both Akeem Blake and Oblique Seville dealt with injuries earlier this season, but they still got on the starting line for the 100-meter final. By past history, you could say that they were supposed to make the team, but Brian Lavelle, this year, has sent enough warning shots, especially in the 200, to let us know that he was legit. And if you're looking at the rounds, the times he was putting down made it clear that he did have a shot to make it onto the team. Remember, only 3 men get to go. And when we got to the national championship final, if you didn't actually watch it live, you don't know what happened. Allow me to explain. Oblique Seville gets down in the starting line, like, hey, on your mark, they're getting ready to call him up into set, and he was feeling so much discomfort that he puts his hand up and they call the entire field to stand up. It was clear that he was hurt, and he was very concerned. You could see the anguish on his face because he's like, this is the moment. If we don't run in this race and go fast in this race, we're not going to represent Jamaica at the Worlds. And they basically, to some degree, had to hold up the meet. He tried to work it out, like tried to jog it out, tried to stretch it out. He even got a quick little massage to come back to the starting line. I'm not making this up. He literally leaves the track, gets a massage, like lays down on the ground, gets back to the starting line. People walked off to get water, come back, and then that is when the race goes off. So when Oblique Seville comes through in 9.83 seconds behind Kishane Thompson, that is the narrative. I have never seen a performance like that because, for the most part, I was just hoping that he wasn't getting, I was really just hoping he wasn't going to get injured. And the announcers, those over the broadcast, they said the exact same thing. Everybody was more or less like, okay, Oblique Seville is clearly not 100%. We just don't want him to get hurt because that would be really tragic for Jamaica. Yes, we want him on the 100-meter team, but we might have to mail that in right now and just focus on long-term health. But then he ran fast. And remember, 9.83 seconds is very fast. It's just not as fast as what Kishane Thompson gave us. And Akeem Blake did hold on for third. Unfortunately, Brian Lavelle did pull up in that race. But when Kishane Thompson goes 9.75, it's pretty clear that that is going to be the headline. So now allow me to discuss what that actually means. Because I've been living in a hypothetical world for the last 3 to 4 years, waiting for the moment when someone was going to run 9.75 seconds. And now it actually happened. Let's talk about how big it really is. It's not just the fastest thing since Bolt retired. He technically ran a new national stadium record because Bolt's old record was 9.76, and he just went 9.75. So that's a big deal for Jamaica, just to clarify. I also said that nobody's going that fast when legal since Bolt retired. So now let's really understand what that means. If nobody has done it, because I've been thinking about it for a while, but now we're living in this world, it means that you can no longer win a gold medal if you can't go that fast. When Bolt was running fast, 9.6 fast, even 9.5 fast, he dared the entire field to go with him. Basically, people have to figure out how to do something they've never done before. Because if he's going to go that fast, the only way to be competitive is you're going to have to go even faster. The pace is going to be the pace. Either you're going to go with it or you're going to get left. The thing is, we've had such a long gap now in history where people have been unable to go that fast, where it raises the question if they actually can. We know that Kishane Thompson can go fast. Even if he doesn't go faster, which I'm pretty sure he plans on it. Let's just say 9.75 is on the boards. With the quality of that race, win factors, all of that, I'm sorry. The World Championship is basically done. The only thing we're waiting on now is whether somebody else is going to find something out of their back pocket. So let's talk about the ones who actually have a shot to do it. That's the conversation. Who has a shot to find that out of their back pocket, like put the race of their life together to take down King Kishane Thompson. Because at this point, you got to give him the crown. Like, the only thing that we're doing is we're watching the throne now because we know that it's supposed to go to him. Noah Lyles has been the most consistent sprinter on the world stage, especially in World Championship finals. But I've also been very clear about my feelings on it, which is I don't have evidence that he can go 9.7 mid, 9.7 low. Like that evidence isn't there. Normally, like I said this last year, if you can go 9.7 something, you're going to beat Noah. The problem was nobody could pull it off. I mean, 9.79, like barely wasn't enough because that's what he gave you. You had to go 9.78, 9.77, something. That's how you were going to get him. We now know that Kishane Thompson, who was right there with him last year, has that type of speed. But Trayvon Bromell is also on that list. He's not just fast in the world this year. He did go 9.76 and I believe 9.7 high as well, multiple times. Now that he's seemingly getting back to that same level of form, it lets us know that it's very realistic, like it's a possibility that Trayvon could do it again. Now, 9.76, 9.75, they're right there next to each other. So it's very realistic that he could challenge Kishane. But again, if we're just focused on the clock and looking at their careers, because for where Kishane is, where he really kind of burst onto the scene in the last 2 years for the most part, and emphatically in 2024 as far as like the track and field world taking notice, hey, to clarify, you still got to put him above that. Once we move between those two American names, who else do you want? I mean, 2022 Fred Curley, that guy might be able to keep up with Kishane. But again, 9.75 is the line. That's the line. Now that he has pushed the zones there, everybody's going to have to figure out how to go even faster. And you could keep bringing up other names from the rest of the world stage, whether they're American or beyond. But there's really no point if you're asking me. Because remember, past history with medals is not the only thing that matters anymore. If you can't go fast enough, it won't matter. Because Usain Bolt, in his era, nobody else could go fast enough to beat him. So it didn't matter how good you were. Tyson Gay, to put it on like in history, he was a world champion in 2007 in the 100 meter dash. It just didn't matter once Bolt showed up, running times that nobody else could run. I mean, the medals are cool and they matter for legacy, but once the zones get pushed that far, it just kind of is what it is. The gold medals, they all go to the only people who can keep up that pace, even if it's one man on the face of the earth at that moment. Right now, Kishane Thompson is that man. He has pushed the zones. He's gone where nobody in this generation has gone before. And now that he has done it, the only question is, can anybody else respond? Because no matter who you are or what you think you are doing, this race is going to be heard around the world. And if you did not get the opportunity to watch the Kishane Thompson experience live when it happened, my heart goes out to you. Because moments like this clearly don't come around that often. And now that we are living in what seems to be the beginning of the Kishane Thompson era, every other pro sprinter in the world is going to have to train even harder. Because if they can't keep up with the pace, they're just going to get left. The men's 100 meter dash at the Prefontaine Classic is officially over. And that is a race that everybody in the sprinting community was actually paying attention to. because Kishane Thompson was on the starting line. And every time he runs, it's a big deal. But after he just ran 9.75 seconds, like literally the last time we saw him, like a week ago, him pulling up to the Prefontaine is a big deal. And he didn't just come alone. What we got to witness, like allow me to set the stage, is because Kishane Thompson, like Mr. 9.75, was also lining up against Trayvon Bromell and Christian Coleman. I could shout out a whole bunch of people in the field, but they stand out for a reason. Because before he ran 9.75, they ran 9.76. Those clocks matter because they're the fastest thing we have seen since Usain Bolt retired. Again, since he retired. So from 2017 till now, nobody's gone faster than them. Maybe they tied 9.76, but they didn't go faster. All that being said, when the gun goes off, the race went about how I expected. I mean, within reason. Because Kishane Thompson gets away well, and Trayvon Bromell gets away well. I mean, that's what we expected to see. But the thing is, by the time we're halfway done, like 50, 60 meters in, Kishane Thompson is clearly away from the field. And once I saw that, I'm like, well, this race is over, because we've seen this movie before. There was a short list of men who can actually reel in Kishane Thompson. And the men who have done it, like done anything that looked like it, weren't in this field. I mean, if Trayvon Bromell or, Christian Coleman or anybody else was going to beat him, they wasn't going to do it by catching him at the back. So Kishane Thompson wins in 9.85 seconds, which, depending on how you feel about it, maybe it's a disappointment. I mean, I didn't expect him to run faster than 9.75. I mean, I thought there was a chance he might go 9.7 something, but it is what it is. But when you look at the rest of the field, we saw Jarnell Hughes, who came on strong at the end to pull past Trayvon Bromell for second place. Then Trayvon goes third. So they go 9.91, 9.94. And of all people beyond them, it's Brandon Hicklin who rises up for fourth. If you travel down the leaderboard, Christian Coleman was actually pretty far down. He went 10.06. I believe he got seventh overall in the field. There were 9 men on the line for the record. So now that the race is over and we didn't get a new world lead, we didn't get even, a track record for, for the Prefontaine, like wasn't a meet record or anything like that. Since this is what we're dealing with, what does it all mean? And I am here to tell you that this race basically tells us what we already figured out a week ago. Kishane Thompson is the man to beat. And in 2025, if we're going off of races that have actually been run, nobody has given us any indication that they can run with him. The thing about this race is, yes, Kishane Thompson was the favorite, but he still had to go out there and run it. And then he did. And when he runs it, he makes it clear, not just to the people watching, but again, halfway through that race, everybody who was actually in it knew that race was over. You are now running for second place. In sprinting, there are certain types of athletes. Some of them generally are, they'll run really hard through to the line and, they put the race together in phases and they don't necessarily get off, really well, but you got to watch them all the way till the end because the race is to the line, not to the first 30 or to the first 60. But the sprinters who most people notice are normally the ones who blow the doors off of the race early and then continue to stay in front because that's what really gives you that wow factor. Kishane Thompson runs like that. You don't have to run like that to run fast. Usain Bolt, interestingly enough, wasn't exactly what I just said. He was just with the field halfway through the race. But everybody in that field knew that back half was going to go to him because his speed endurance was on a different level than everybody else who was there. Now that this Prefontaine Classic is done, it was a very anticipated race. Everybody on that lineup had a reason to be there. All of them either historically have won things at a high level or this year have put down performances, won races, etc. They all broke 10 prior to getting to this moment. It was a legit field when we talk about pro track. But the announcers kept bringing up that Kishane Thompson and Noah Lyles are on a collision course, and they kept talking about September, which is when the World Championships are going to go down. We haven't seen Noah Lyles run this season in a 100 or a 200. Hey, I know there are reasons. I'm sure he's doing whatever he needs to do for his training. You mentioned, overcoming, a small injury in the past. I don't know how significant it is, but if this is pro track, if this is what we're doing, because the Prefontaine Classic is about as professional as it's going to get, certainly in America, or even for that matter on the Diamond League. What that means is we've got to go off of the races we actually have. in 2025, going off of the races that we have, this is how I'm seeing the field. And Prefontaine gives me a pretty good benchmark to make this assessment. Right now, there's Group 1. And you want to know who's in Group 1? Like the guys who have a real shot to win gold? The only one who I'm saying who is clearly in Group 1 is Kishane Thompson. Because he's has a report that adds up to it. He's run fast again, and he's won in competitive fields. When you put those type of times on the board, and you are winning, yeah, you're in Group 1. The time that he lost was to Akani Simbine, who at that time was the world leader. I mean, I'm sure Simbine is probably taking some time off now to get himself ready for Worlds because he had an earlier start to the season, ran really fast at that point. Like, hey, it is what it is. He even ran World Indoor, got a medal while he was there. But if you keep the focus on what we're dealing with, Noah Lyles, I mean, historically you would say he's in Group 1, but he just hasn't given us anything. Well, forget Group 1 performances. He hasn't given us anything at all to go off of yet in 2025. From what I understand, he'll be running in London very soon. But that is not now. We're still waiting to see it. Everybody else in the field, like the 100-meter dash right now, is looking pretty wide open once you get past the gold medal. I mean, it doesn't mean that Kishane is a lock to win it. I'm pretty sure that Trayvon Bromell, everybody else who was in that field, Jarnell Hughes, who came on real strong to remind us that he is legit and a world medalist. But the medal he has isn't gold. Keep that in mind. Remember, we're talking about gold versus everything else. The everything else is what feels wide open. So the real question that we all have to deal with is, we know Kishane Thompson is the front runner. He's the front runner on the clock. He's the front runner through his performances this year. He's now matched up in a major pro race and handled business and did not make it look like it was really all that close. So now, can anybody actually beat him? That's the discussion. The other medals got to go to somebody. Like, of course, somebody has to get those medals. But if gold is what you want, you're going to have to go through Kishane Thompson to get it. I know Noah Lyles had that on his mind. And I'm sure Trayvon Bromell, and for that matter, Jarnell Hughes, everybody else who you want to put into the conversation, I mean, Kenny Bednarik, Fred Curley, like they all know that he's who they have to go through. But what evidence, that's the discussion, what evidence do we actually have that they can pull it off right now? Because we are now in the month of July. September is going to be here a lot sooner than you think. And yes, USA trials still have to happen, and many other nations are going to do the same. But Kishane Thompson already knows he's going to be in that race. And he also knows that they can't run with him. At least not right now. Somebody's going to have to figure out how to give us a race they have never given us before in history if they really want to beat him. And that isn't just a scary thought. It's the type of thing that will have a serious impact on every race that Kishane Thompson runs from now to the end of the season. Because he's the only man who just has to show up and be himself. And at the Prefontaine Classic, that is what we all just got to witness. Even if it only took him 9.85 seconds to show. We just witnessed another Kishane Thompson sighting. And this time, it happened in a 4x1. Because on a weekend where the London Diamond League was bound to dominate the headlines, specifically because of the men's 100. And trust me, I'll get to that in another video. But Jamaica pulled up to run a relay. And they really didn't have much choice in the matter. Because if they had any prayer of showing up at the World Championships to run the 4x1, they needed a seed time. Like one that would actually qualify them. Allow me to set the stage. Kishane Thompson and Jamaica, they went to the World Relays early this year. And when they went, it didn't go all that well. They actually never got to stick around. And they had 2 cracks at it. There was a preliminary and like a consolation round when that didn't go well. Either way, Kishane Thompson literally never touched the stick. Like it never got to the anchor. That said, this time, they went out there and took care of business. The time was 37.80 seconds in a race that I'm going to consider a dual meet. No disrespect to the other teams in the field, but it was Jamaica as far as the men they put out there, because they gave us Oblique Seville and Kishane Thompson. Like, when you put both of them on a relay, looks like you're actually trying to win out there. And Great Britain gave us a roster that was at least a decent reflection of what they gave you in the Olympic final last year that came back with a medal. But now that Jamaica has done this, they put down a time, like got around the track, because we knew they were fast, don't get me wrong. We just didn't know if they were actually going to get around the track and do it in time to qualify for the Worlds. We can just assume, or at least I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that they'll make it to the starting line now for the World Championship 4x1. So what can we reasonably expect? So let's get into it. The first thing that comes to my mind is I wanted to get a better understanding of the legitimate history of the men's 4x1 in Jamaica in the post-Usain Bolt era. Because in 2017, he was coming down a home straight and pulled up in a 4x1. And as a result, Jamaica didn't get a medal. Like, they were gonna get a medal with him there, like, almost regardless. From that point till now, in 2019, they didn't get a medal. In 2021, at the Olympics, they didn't get a medal. In 2022, they didn't get a medal. But in 2023, they did get one, and that one was a bronze. In 2024, they actually did get to stick around competently, or at least competently enough, in the Olympic prelims. They just didn't go fast enough to actually make the final, which, when you're Jamaica, with the type of speed they have, it's clear that something's going wrong in those baton passes if they're not getting around fast enough to qualify for the final. And the time that they just gave us here, considering what we've seen at World Relays, as well as what we saw at the Olympics last year, like, past history tells us, that race is good enough to get you to the final. Now, will 37.80 seconds win the final? No, not gonna happen. It might threaten for a medal, but then again, it might not. You kind of need a slower year now. Because generally speaking, 37.5 seconds is the line. Like, that's how fast you gotta go if you really want to get a gold medal. Canada has taught us that. There's only a few nations who can go faster than that, like on talent. And we all know that the Americans are the team that comes to the mind, like, at least at the top of mind, about who can go faster. But when I look at Jamaica's men's 4x1, what I see are some of the same problems that America has, where you have a whole bunch of talent that's relatively competitive, like in the same range on the boards. And as a result, when it comes to putting together a relay, you got to make a decision on who's actually going to go out there. When you have your final, everybody kind of knows who you want to see in the final. But the real concern is, are the same people who are going to be in the final going to show up in the round that get you there? Because the 4x1 is the type of race where you really got to run it multiple times, specifically with the same guys. That's why Canada is so good at it. Because even though they don't have all the world's fastest men, they have men who are fast enough who continue to run together over and over and over again. I can't remember almost ever. I mean, like, if you go back to the one medal that they didn't get, which was like 2023, like in recent memory, they didn't run their real team. Like, not the four men that they consistently run. You swap out Andre DeGrasse, well, that's probably not going to go anywhere near as well as one would expect. The race we just saw for Jamaica, two of those legs, I'm not entirely sure if we're going to see those same legs again when we come back to the Worlds. America, we don't know who we're going to see run on that relay. I mean, USA Trials is about to come. They're going to put people in a relay pool. As far as I know, the system hasn't changed much. And we've also, changed up relay coaches, I believe, between the men's and the women's sides. I mean, for what it's worth, the men weren't doing well already, especially when it came to the Olympic Games. Worlds were a step up. But now let's go back to when I say not doing well, because getting a medal is ultimately what people want. And then, of course, there's records on the table. But when you have Kishane Thompson running on a 4x1, you have to put in perspective what that really means for that relay. Because Jamaica, when they weren't getting medals in the post-Usain Bolt era, like all those years where I said they weren't getting one, for the most part, they were getting to the final. And they were threatening for a medal. Like, they were getting fourth. But they didn't have what I would call a game breaker. That athlete who, when you get the stick to him, you're just like, you know what? Mail it in. This race is over. Because now that he has the stick and he's running, ain't nobody coming back from that. If Kishane Thompson runs the way we know he's capable of, all Jamaica has to do is get him the stick close to the lead. At which point, you can mail it in. We know you're coming back with a medal. But what Jamaica really wants isn't a bronze again. They want a gold medal. Like, they'll accept silver because it's a step up, but I'm pretty sure that they want a gold. Kishane Thompson can help them get there. But just adding him into the relay alone isn't going to be enough. Because at World Relays, the man who was supposed to hand the stick to him was not running the relay in London. Now, I get why they swapped that out, and I get why they're working on it. But the question again is, the team that we just saw, are they going to continue running together? That's a team without Akeem Blake, for example. A team without Brian Lavelle. Like, that's what they gave us. Is that same team going to come back in a World Championship prelim? Is Jamaica going to run another 4x1 between now and then? I have no idea. The London Diamond League, historically, as far as I can tell, this 4x1 has been a kind of a staple of this meet. It may not be a part of the official Diamond League program, but they run it and people take it seriously enough. I look at that race, like I remember Great Britain at the Olympics, the fact that they ran this relay prior to the Olympics, to me, that was a pretty good indication that they were not just taking it seriously, but not just throwing people together. Because you have athletes who were, like Louis Hinchliffe, who was a college athlete, but ran on the Great Britain relay that got a medal. But he didn't just pop up and run it at the Worlds, or in this case, the Olympics. He had to run it with the team prior. I think that continuity, like the way that you put together your program, is very key. You can almost run into a challenge when you have too much talent. Because, again, you don't need Kishane Thompson on talent to qualify for the final in theory. But irrelevant of whether you're fast enough to do it without him, you might not be good enough to do it without him. Because if the synergy of the team that he's on is the one you're expecting to win, you can fall off pretty quickly. America is the biggest, example that we've had of 4x1 failure, and I hate to keep going back to it, but let's just be honest, they have way too much talent for the results they've been getting. When they go out in the 2020 Olympics and don't make the final on speed, and you got 4 men who can break 10 seconds in the 100, like literally nobody in the field, like nobody else in the field was that fast, and they still didn't get to stick around competently. I mean, again, they ran, they got through the line, but they were so conservative trying to not drop that as a result, they just weren't fast enough. So at some point, you're going to have to be able to push the zones. In this 4x1 I was watching, the baton passes weren't perfect. Especially that anchor leg. I mean, on the way to Kishane, like they pushed the zones probably harder than they expected to. But he got the stick cleanly enough. Like, hey, before they got to the end of that zone, and once he got it and he was ahead of everybody, it was over. What's important is that they were ahead before they got to Kishane Thompson. That tells me that Jamaica means business. So they took care of what they needed to in London. Kishane Thompson, people want to see him in the 100, hey, myself included, but I totally understand why he's not running it in London. Like, this 4x1 was a business trip. It wasn't just a run for fun. They actually needed to get around, and they needed to do it quickly. Because if they didn't, they were going to be watching the World Championship relay go off without them. And now that they are in the field, as far as I know, we're going to have to stay tuned to see what actually happens. History tells us Jamaica's going to make the final. Like, they should make the final. Barring something catastrophic. The only question is, do they come back with a medal once they're there? And the only team that I know has enough speed to stop them from getting to the top of the podium. I have no idea who's really going to be on that relay when that final goes off. But unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure what the answer is for Jamaica just yet. Because as far as I'm concerned, this year for Jamaica in the relay is gold medal or a bust. And that's that. The world just witnessed another Kishane Thompson sighting, and this time it went down in Hungary. And every time he runs, I make it my business to pay attention because I've come to find out that people actually care about it. Allow me to set the stage, because this one was a Continental Tour race, not the Diamond League. That's coming later this week. But, again, Kishane Thompson is the headliner, but he does have a legitimate field to compete against. So, you should know that Akani Simbini, who beat him earlier this year, was there. Alongside Ronnie Baker, who just ran 992 and 994, just won another Continental Tour race like a few days ago. He was there, former Olympic finalist. But if you move off of that, Hakeem Blake came with him. He was there. Rohan Watson. Like, this is a very legitimate field. And there's a name that you probably don't notice, but I'm going to fill you in anyway. Abdul Rashid Saminu. He's been running in college. I watched him run 986 live down at the East Regional, but hey, he was there. And yes, Kishane Thompson got the victory. But it didn't go exactly how anyone might have thought. Because when you look at the final clock, it's at 9.95 seconds. Again, in the 100-meter dash, that is the final clock. I don't remember the win factors off head. Again, I'm doing this all entirely off memory. But after him, the field actually looked like this. 10.01 seconds. That was Abdul Rashid Saminu and Akani Simbini tied on that line. You drop on down from there. I believe Hakeem Blake goes 10.04 and Ronnie Baker goes 10.05. So even though Kishane Thompson got the victory, in the race, if you're watching it, it more or less looked how you expect a Kishane Thompson race to look, where the gun goes off, he gets off the block pretty well, he surges to the front by about the 40, 50 meter mark, and then continues to pour it on going to the line. But no, he never pulled away. And when I say pulled away, I mean like put real distance on him and the field. So what did this race actually mean? Because we know we have other races coming, like other Kishane Thompson races. On the Diamond League are scheduled, there's Silesia, I think I'm saying that right, Silesia coming up. Lausanne is coming up after that. Of course, World Championships that everybody focused on. But if we put it in perspective, well, I have come to conclude that yes, Kishane Thompson is one of the favorites for the World Championship final. You could argue that he is the favorite. I think if we're going off of this year, like the races that have been run in 2025, 100%, you probably got to say he is the favorite. But there's reason to not necessarily take him. And when I say take him, I mean put him in that, 100%, this is a lock, you got it. And the real reason is because people have fallen in love with the clock. But track and field is a competitive sport. What am I trying to say? 9.95 seconds only sounds slow, because if we focus on the clock and compare it to 9.75, that's how you feel about it. But you guys got to go out there and race with people. The last time I remember seeing Kishane Thompson was at the Prefontaine Classic. He ran 9.85 seconds on that day. But it was Jarnell Hughes who finished that race behind him, and that was 0.06 of a second off, 9.91 to 9.85. Are you starting to see where I'm going with this? Even when he goes 9.75, who was behind him? Oblique Seville. And if I'm going to remember that race correctly, I think we ran 9.83 seconds. That's 0.08 of a second off. Like, yes, Kishane Thompson might be ahead of the field, but he's not ahead by anywhere near as much as people have pretended that he is. Again, he might have the talent to go faster than 9.75. I mean, I believe that from what I've seen. But there's a difference between having the talent to do something, like the potential to do it, and actually going out there and doing it. When it comes to the next few races, he's going to be in field with Noah Lyles. He's going to be in, I believe it's going to happen twice. It should be him and Kenny Bednarek. I mean, the Silesia race, I'll share my thoughts on that, obviously when it happens, but perhaps even before, because everybody's coming to the party. Trayvon Bromell is coming back. Courtney Lindsey's going to be there. Even Christian Coleman. Like, this is going to be a very loaded field when it comes to just the amount of talent that's going to be out there. But you have to keep in context that the World Championship final is the only race left that Kishane Thompson actually has to run. Everything else we're doing between now and then is just a formality. But you do need to be informed. He's already given us a warning shot. 9.75, like, that's happened. I don't expect to see that clock again until we get to the World Championship. Likely in the final. Not in the semis. Like, maybe he might run a semifinal that is highly competitive, and maybe he'll run fast, like maybe even go 9.8 low, maybe slightly break 9.8, something like that, and make it look easy. Like, if everything's going well, that's what people say, like, make it look easy, or that he's not trying that hard in the last 20. But overall, Kishane Thompson still is who we thought he was. He is a favorite in the 100-meter dash. He's showing up the field and dominating, but he's not bulletproof. Abdul Rashid Saminu was the wild card in that entire race, the man who most people didn't pay attention to. He was at the Olympics in the 100-meter semifinal, but almost nobody really noticed. He showed up to this race wearing his Ghana uniform to let us all know who he is. Every time I've seen him, for the most part, has been in a college uniform running for the University of South Florida, and he's run fast clocks. I already told you 9.86, but 9.84, that also happened. Like, this is what he does. But he normally runs those times in races where, for the most part, we don't really, nobody really notices. He's more or less running by himself. Track and field is a competitive sport where you actually got to beat the people who show up on the line. The clock is an indicator. But if you really think we're just chasing the clock, then that means altitude, wind factors, weather, travel, all those other variables don't matter. So far, what I've noticed is that when I look at the field of men who are likely going to be there in the final, or, going to threaten to make the final at the Worlds, Kishane Thompson is beating them, but he's beating them by about 1/10 of a second. About. That maybe a little bit less. Normally by 500th or more, but normally not by much more than 1/10. That is about where he is to the field. So the real question is, can anybody else get close to him between now and that moment? It was too good to be true. because Noah Lyles versus Kishane Thompson is a matchup that the Diamond League promised us multiple times before we got to the World Championships. And we did actually get it in Silesia, Poland. Like, hey, I've already shared my thoughts on that. Don't need to go back on it now. But we were also supposed to get that race in Lausanne. That was going to go down this Wednesday. But, well, I mean, hey, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Kishane Thompson will no longer be competing in Lausanne. Now, there are reports, there is speculation, maybe a minor injury, things like that. Like, hey, all of that is what it is. But this is track and field. And in the pro track world, when they tell us that an athlete is going to compete in a specific event, like they say, on this date, at this time, this meet is going to go down. It all sounds good until we see them on the starting line. Now, I'm not here to beat up on Kishane Thompson for pulling out. Like, I get it. The World Championships is the goal. I totally understand. But you have to see it from this perspective. When it comes to professional sport, like track and field as pro sport, because right now what we're doing is an amateur sport with professional athletes in it. When we hear that you're going to show up, and there's a lot of excitement, like, hey, if you bought a ticket to watch the Diamond League in Lausanne, like to watch it live, I'm pretty sure you wanted to see the matchup. Everybody wanted to see the matchup when it went down in Poland. We had waited like a year to get to that race. And after the way it ended, where Kishane Thompson gets off, holds Noah Lyles off, who comes charging towards the end, Noah Lyles runs by a whole bunch of other fast men. Like men who've run, as he said, 9.79, 9.8 low, 9.8 mid, 9.8 high. He runs past all of them in order to get second. And he does it only by 300th of a second behind. Remember, this is second Open 100, like on a, I guess on a Diamond League, Diamond League stage, his third Open 100 of the season, because he ran a prelim at the USA's. Like, it was exciting, and we wanted to see this matchup more. We wanted to see it continue. Noah Lyles and Kishane Thompson are a rivalry. Like, whether you like it or not, that's what it is. It's USA versus Jamaica. That has been a rivalry for a very long time. And since the 100-meter dash is easily one of the most high-profile events when we're talking about marketing the sport of track and field, so much so that most people who think that they like track but are really in the casual pile don't really know much about the other sprinting events. Like, hey, my ear has been to the ground, especially over the last few weeks with all the controversy, the track spice thing, Noah and Kenny B, all of that. People don't know about the 200. They don't know what a good time is in the 200. They don't know, like, they don't have an access point for the event. The 400, like, people get it, it's a quarter mile. But again, if we're talking about from an American context, they don't really know too much about that event. They might know Quincy Wilson is a prodigy, but that's about it. So then when you get to the 100, like, again, Noah versus Kishane, the entire world got to watch that go down at the games. Because the World Championships are coming. But let's be clear, the World Championships are a big deal to the track and field community. The sports community doesn't care. Because the World Championships really looks a whole lot like the Olympics. Like, you're just being real about it. Everything about how the event is structured, the amount of days that it runs, it's made to look or to feel very similar to the Olympic Games. It's just that it's happening on a smaller scale because there's less attention on it. I'm not here, again, to attack Kishane. Like, hey, I'm a Kishane Thompson fan, whether you believe me or not. I want to see the best athletes run, and I want to see them run up to their capability. And I do believe he has the talent in this era, especially this season, to run perhaps a time that nobody else can run. And if he can do it in a championship race, the result is going to be that he will win. So, hey, let's just get that out of the way. But Noah Lyles and Kishane Thompson together, that is box office. That is must-see TV. The race that we're going to get now, like just being 100% real about it, there's some different names who are going to be on the starting line, and I'm doing this entirely off of memory, but at the top of it, Noah Lyles is still going to be there. He needs to run more races. He hasn't run much all this year, at least not up until recently, but Oblique Seville is going to be there as well. We saw Noah and we saw Oblique run in London, and some people really focused on, Oblique Seville winning that race by a lot, which he did. Shout out to him. Oblique Seville beat Noah Lyles last year at the race's Grand Prix. So them facing off and Oblique getting the victory, not that big a deal. And Oblique did the same thing again in the Olympic semifinal. So the idea of Oblique Seville beating Noah Lyles is not that wild. The only question for Oblique Seville, I'm going to say it now, I alluded to it before, some people have even said it in the comments, and I get it, there's a lot of dispute, because Oblique Seville's talent is scary. That's the language that I use for it. It's the adjective that I choose. We just want to know what he's going to do in the final. That's it. Everything else is whatever. Oblique Seville might win on Wednesday, but I think him winning in Lausanne whether he does or he doesn't, but specifically if he does, is of less consequence because he already knows he can win in Lausanne. You see where I'm going with this? Like, he's done this already. He's beaten Noah Lyles in the Diamond League, and he's beaten him in Jamaica. He's even beaten him in preliminaries and semifinal heats. The only thing he actually has to do is beat him in the final. Like, in the context of the sport. Because we don't know if that's going to happen. Like, if he wins again, I mean, okay, maybe that moves him up on the list for some people. But for Noah Lyles, he's made it clear that he doesn't need to win all of his races, or even most of his races, in order to win a world or Olympic final. I said it after Poland. I'm going to say it again. 2023, when Noah Lyles opened his 100-meter season, he lost to a high school kid. I'm not making any of this up. That's what actually happened. And then he ended that year as the world champion. It is what it is. He even went back on the Diamond League and lost in the Diamond League final to Christian Coleman. But in the World Championship final, he was infirmed. Like, him winning that race is what most people are most people will remember. And then at the Olympic Games, you saw what happened. He did not open that season all the way in the front of the race in the hundreds that he was running. He just didn't. But by the time it was done, again, he already lost to oblique earlier that year. But we saw what happened in the final. So Noah is on a different plan where it feels like he's just stepping towards the final. And the question is, can you beat the final form of Noah? That's the actual question that I'm waiting for. Who can do it? Oblique Seville had the talent to do it. I don't know if it will happen, but I know it could happen in theory. That's in theory, but we have, history to go off of that it hasn't happened yet. Kishane Thompson is another one where, yes, he's new to being at the top of the world, or that top level, but he still has to go out and do it. Beating Noah on the circuit and beating him there isn't the same. But these circuit races, and this is the real reason why Kishane Thompson can pull out, and we can say that it makes sense. There's no real stakes to these races. The mystique of Kishane Thompson will not move in any direction if he wins in Lausanne or even wins the Diamond League final in Zurich. Neither of those things are going to have any real impact on his career going forward. The only thing that will is, can he get a World Championship gold medal? If he gets silver at the Worlds this year, specifically behind Noah Lyles, the needle's not going to move at all. As a matter of fact, the needle might move backwards because all of the excitement around Kishane Thompson is about him taking a step forwards. So until we can get to a place where what happened on the pro circuit and what happened in the international space have weight in some type of equal fashion, specifically to the track community, that's important. Like, the people who actually like track need to, at some point, these pro races have to have stakes, and maybe those seasons need to be divested or separated more so that winning in one and then winning in the other can kind of be two separate experiences. I mean, how we get there, that's another discussion that we don't have time to get into. But for now, this is the world we're going to live in, where they tell you that athletes are going to run. And we get excited and we, preview races and, start to look ahead and, all of this, hype around the moment. But when the moment comes, we don't know who's about to be on this line. We don't know whether they're going to be there as they were promised. Because sometimes people are on the lineup all the way up till the moment when the line goes off. And then you're just looking out there and you're looking at the lane and nobody's there. I've seen this a few times. Granted, sometimes things happen at a moment's notice in a warm-up, but this is the nature of the sport. And until we have a structure that can account for that, one where the races still have stakes and the show must go on, because there's really no incentive to come be a part of the show unless it's a world final. There's one race on the calendar, one meet on the calendar that you actually got to show up for. And all you got to do is make sure that they let you show up when that gun's going to go off. Everything else, all bets are off. You can bypass all those races. And we're going to see, if this strategy and kind of these next few weeks, I highly doubt we're going to see Kishane Thompson versus Noah Lyles again until we get to the World Championships. Maybe in a semifinal, but if it's done right, we probably won't see it till the final itself. So we're not just going to have to wait even longer, which, hey, we don't have a choice in the matter. I'm going to wait. I'm going to patiently see how this is going to go. But we were excited. And there was something that I guess we weren't promised, but they definitely told us. And I was crazy enough to believe them. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything. Because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true. that fast is a lifestyle. Get your Fast is a Lifestyle track and field gear at searecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.